Yeah, oh, that wasn't the... I forgot to turn my mic back on. And I forgot to turn that off. Okay, there we go. Now everything is good. Right, guys? Oh my god, how long has it been? You see dead people? Where? Where? Where are the dead people? Oh, you meant me. Yo, Fox, zombie VTuber model win? I need to, like, actually sit down and, like, think about, like, what would I want as, like, my true VTuber model. You know what I mean? Like, just really think about what I would want to do. Because as much as I love using Elias, I feel like we could have a little more fun with the actual model. Okay. Trying to get the mic space because in the right place because it feels like it's a little bit different from what it usually is. I don't know why. No. It's so annoying how quickly the game changes between just one position of the dial and the next one. Okay, that seems like everything is fine. I'm about upward into the yellow every time I'm talking. That should be good. How does this sound to everybody? Is it too loud, too quiet? Just take your pick, okay? I don't know. I'm just like I hate this. I've been away from the game for so long. I've forgotten how to work everything. So, speaking of forgetting how to work everything, I don't know where I was going with that. I'm going to be honest with you. Like, I know what I was going to go with. I was going to lean into exactly what we were going to do today, but God, I am the worst at intros. But howdy, Fox Gang. Welcome back to another FGRolls live stream. I got a bit of a special thing for y'all today. Okay. If you don't know, I am friends with another content creator named Starly120. You guys know this. I don't know why I'm talking, but just on the off chance that somebody is watching this on YouTube, I don't know why you would be, but thank you. Starly120 is another content creator, but in addition to streaming and making videos, she also writes a story. And 2 years ago, I think, about... You know what? I don't actually know how long ago it was, but now I'm curious. So give me a second. I know, right? Hey. You guys don't need to, you guys do not need to see my subscriptions. No peeking. Rude. I love the fact that still in one of the videos that when you look her up at the absolute top is still the Starly120 slander. And the number 2 video that pops up is one of my VODs. That's funny. Okay, Starly120. I don't know if she has it in her videos or if she has it on her VOD channel. It might be on her VOD channel. Let's try Starly120 VOD. I don't know where that came from, but okay. Da-da-da-da. Da-da-da-da. Let me see if I can find it. Maybe I'm just blind? I might just be... Okay, there it is. Writer reacts to dramatic reading of her own story. Yep, it's been 2 years, baby! Oh, God, it's been 2 years. That took 5 hours? You gotta be kidding me! Okay, so yeah, 2 years ago, I did a reading of her story. Hold on, let me turn off the music. I did a reading of her story, A Tale of One Shadow, 2 years ago. I think this was actually like our first real interaction with each other, but still. And she just recently finally posted the newest chapter. After 2 years, it's finally been posted. And quite literally, I have forgotten everything that I ever read. Okay, that's not entirely true. I remember the first chapter because I just read it a week ago because I was playing around and was workshopping a fanfic for the story. Why? I was bored. I was like, I need something to write so I can get back into the mood of writing. But I'm gonna be real. I think I'm temporarily giving up on writing for a while as I work on other things. I know that seems weird because I just said I haven't done any writing whatsoever. But here's the thing, I've always tried to sit down and write, but I think for the most part, I'm going to give up for a while as I work on other things because I just have so many projects that I want to do, and I have to cut corners to the things that aren't really going to be a thing for me right now. And writing is the one that I think that I just can't put any real focus on. You see what I mean? So, yeah. Now, given that it's been 2 years, and I don't remember what a lot of the plot of this story was, I thought it would be fun to go back and do what I did the first time, a reading of the story. Oh, she's added new she's added new tags. Okay. Let Men Cry was the one that really stood out to me just a second ago. But I mean, fair. Fair. Let Men Cry. Star, did you really have to tag it as consensual kissing this time? Really? Yeah. It's honestly, it's one of the things where it's like, I would gladly read more stories on the channel. Like, if you guys in chat wrote something and you're like, Fox, do you want to read this on stream? I'd be like, yeah, sure. Just post it to AO3. And, or if there's like another story that maybe you've enjoyed in the past that you're like, hey, Fox, check this out on stream. I'd be up for it. As long as it's an AO3 work because it has the tag system. And I find that AO3 authors are a lot nicer about giving you warnings compared to other websites. Other websites don't like, I guess as a good example, fanfiction.net does not have the tag system. So you kind of just have to hope that the author is willing to put something in their summary or in the author's notes at the beginning of the story. If they're not willing to do that, you're kind of screwed. Can't write a... Okay, yeah, that's fair. All right, guys. What do you guys think? Should I also read the author's notes? Should I include the author's notes when I'm reading? Or just get straight into the chapter? I'm gonna read the author's notes, because sometimes Star has written some amusing things in there where I've just like... I've really had to hold back from laughing a bit. All right, here we go, guys. A Tale of One Shadow by Starly120. What the fuck was that voice? An extra sexy voice? Now, how exactly am I supposed to do that? I really don't have any idea, Edevi, about what I'm supposed to sound like. Do you think you can help me out? I don't know what the fuck that was. Okay, moving on. Okay, moving on. I don't know what the fuck that was. Okay, summary. Oh, God, I'm losing it. Damon Rose had heard many stories about the being that resides in the forest. Some said it was haunted by a vengeful spirit who stole away children in the night. Others said it was a monster. A big, scaly monster with long teeth and razor-sharp claws that ate anyone who came near. Most, however, said it was a demon. A humanoid figure to lure them in, only to reveal their curled horns and devious eyes. To burn their souls away with the hellfire that clung to their inhuman body. Anyone who stepped foot into the forest said to never come out. The last bit was untrue. After all, Damon and his twin Dante went in, met the monster, and made it out of the blah, 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 blah. Man, I'm gonna need bloopers or some shit for this. After all, Damon and his twin Dante went in, met the monster, and made it out alive to tell the tale. That was the weirdest break I've ever done, where I'm just like, okay, we went with ominous, now let's go for cheerful weather type voice. I don't know what I was doing with that one. Hold on. Mouse visible? No, I don't want my mouse to be visible. No capture, properties, no. Okay, I don't know what that was about. Moving on. Author's Notes 1. Hello, thank you for clicking on my work. My name is Star, and I'll be joining you on this ride of a disaster piece. This has been a work in the making for almost 6 years now, and finally I'm at the point where I'd like to show it off to the world. I don't know how often I can update it. I'm a procrastinator by blood, but I will do my very best. I hope you will, blah, blah, blah. I hope you all enjoy it, and please feel free to leave any feedback, as I am still a young, aspiring writer, and any constructive criticism would be greatly appreciated. This is also my very first time posting to AO3, so please go easy on me. Till next time, Star. Okay, first piece of criticism, Star. Be confident. You are sharing your work with the world. Be confident. Step up and show them your voice. You're also a streamer, so at this point, I don't know where I'm going with this. If you want me to be honest, I'm just saying. Although I don't really have a leg to stand on the whole being confident thing in the first place, so maybe I should move on. Chapter 1. Monster. God, I love that song. I should play the songs that she names the title after, assuming that the title of this one is Monster by Skillet. Please be. It was a day Damon remembers often. It began as an ordinary day, a day like millions before it, and millions that would come after it. Millions? What is the average lifespan of the humans in your world? Millions? Gods. I realize she's being hyperbolic. I'm just poking fun. Not even a sentence in and I'm breaking off. Alright. However, when a strange rumor had begun to pass around his 4th grade class like wildfire, this particular day started to become less than ordinary. I'm getting flashbacks of them. Son of a bitch! Holy shit! That gave me a fucking heart attack! Ay, 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 Mr. Cedar TV! Oh, man.
Gifted Edgeovi subscription. Set Antak, you gifted a tier 1 sub to Edgeovi.
Okay, let's let these go through.
Antak,
I need to go. Thank you, Satanaku, for reminding me.
Set Antak, you gifted Msidat subscription. Set Antak, you gifted a tier 1 sub to Mr.
That
C.
I need to go fix this so it doesn't read out every single gifted sub.
Set Antak, you gifted a tier 1.
I'm gonna have to go do that after stream. But also, holy shit! That gave me a jump scare, the sound alert.
Gifted a tier 1 sub to CyberReel.
I just wasn't expecting it. Also true. But what's up, Satanaku? How's it going?
For 31 months. I said I'd gift 5.
This is true, you did. Alright, here we go. No! Get out of my chat, bot. I hope I didn't accidentally ban somebody else. Ooh, you're off to Poland? Nice. Alright. Hey, have you heard? It's a haunted house in the forest. What? Really? Yeah.
It's for
And
Fox who rolls on the gotcha. U is for upset rolls. N is for negligence. The chat has come to learn right here in the community.
I was expecting it this time. Well, more like now that I realize sound alerts are actually on, I just won't get jump scared as easily. Yeah, and I heard if you go inside, you'll get possessed by a ghost. Whoa, that's scary. I know, right? He didn't believe it. Or at least he tried to. It sounded like a bunch of bogus to him. Ghosts and possessions. But that didn't stop his raging curiosity. He always wondered why he was never allowed to go in the woods. I don't know, sounds fake to me. The other boys in the class snickered to themselves. Scared, Damon? What? Scared? Yeah, I bet he can't even get close to the force without chickening out. All the boys began to dance around him, chanting, Damon's a scaredy cat. Ah, these would totally be the kids doing the chicken dance. Damn it, now I can picture this in an anime, and it's just this one redheaded kid who's now surrounded by a bunch of idiots doing the chicken dance. Hate them! Alright, let's see. Where was I at? Okay, Damon's a scaredy cat. He was known around his class for being just that, a scaredy cat. Because he was always easily frightened compared to his calm and composed twin brother. Sorry, I couldn't read that with a straight face. Yeah, calm and composed. Right. Sorry. Let me reread that. All the boys began to dance around him, chanting, Damon's a scaredy cat. He was known around his class for being just that, a scaredy cat. Because he was always easily frightened compared to his calm and composed twin brother. Come on, guys, it was just one time. No matter how he tried to defend himself, the teasing and chanting wouldn't stop. Fine, I'll show you guys I'm not a scaredy cat. I'm gonna go inside that house all by myself. He stormed out of the classroom, determination in his eyes. That soon faded as soon as he realized what he said. God, doesn't that feel relatable? But he couldn't just back down. He was, of course, a 10-year-old boy, and so he decided to do what any young, naive boy would do. He told his brother Dante, and that night, they went into the forest together. So apparently Damon and Dante have never seen a horror movie. Or else they would know that when you hear rumors of a haunted house in the middle of the woods, you never actually go to the haunted house in the middle of the woods. Unless you have a death wish, and these kids do. Okay. It was kind of scary, he thought as he stared down the dirt path that led to the supposedly haunted house. Sounds of cars roaring by on the highway behind them. Not that he'd admit he was scared to anyone, except his twin, who stood beside him. Hey, Dante! Yeah, what's up, Damon? I'm kinda scared. Yeah, that sounds about right. No, I am not stupid. I do not go into creepy forest with haunted house. He subconsciously grabbed his brother's hand as they began their trek down the path. It was a relatively calm autumn night. Forest was quiet. It amazed Damon how the absence of something as natural as noise caused their excursion to become even scarier. Darkness crept out from behind every tree, threatening to swallow them whole. Every twig snapped or bush rustled by an animal scurrying away, causing Damon to tense up, gripping Dante's hand tighter. The sound of an owl, whoo, whoo, cooing in the darkness, made him jump slightly, laughing nervously to quell his fear. Dante still eyed him worryingly. Hey, maybe we should... The sound of a siren. Woo, 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 woo. I'm having a little too much fun with this. Going off in the distance caused Damon to scream. Ah! Sorry. Cutting off Dante mid-sentence. Good, don't let him speak. He let go of Dante's hand, racing down the path. Racing down the dirt path! As opposed to the concrete one, or the one made of leaves, or that one made of gastrointestines. Ahead of his brother, rushing to get this stupid challenge done and over with.
U is for upset rolls. N is for negligence. The chat has come to learn right here in the community.
He heard Dante call out to him. Damon, you're going the wrong way. I gotta go chase him down again. This is just like that time at the mall. Let's see. But his sheer panic drove him forward. He didn't dare spare a glance at the trees as he ran past, out of fear of locking eyes with the shadows ready to jump out and drag him into the depths of the woods, never to be seen again. He did, however, skid to a stop when he reached a clearing at the end of the dirt path. Damon could barely feel his trembling body, his racing heart, his lungs begging for oxygen. He didn't know what he expected to see. Maybe a grand old mansion like the ones in fairy tales. He certainly didn't expect to see the remains of what once was a small, two-story house. The top, where there was a second floor, was completely caved in. Wood and debris that stuck out like a sore thumb were singed at the tips. The bottom floor looked as though it were about to cave in any second. Clearing was devoid of any life. No grass, bushes, animal dens. The trees surrounding the clearing were bent backwards, leaning on the trees behind them for support, as if the forest itself was repulsed the house being there. The wind howled behind him, causing Damon to shiver under his light jacket. Could have worn a heavier jacket, my boy. Damon gulped, gathering his courage to take a step forward, for the distinct sound of slapping against the dirt path reached his ears. He would have assumed it were Dante, if not for the fact that whatever was approaching him was abnormally fast and running on 4 legs. Damon, watch out! Let me redo that one. Back it up a bit. Damon, watch out! Oh my god, voice crack. Okay, let me one more time. Damon, watch out! Ooh, I think that one clipped. My bad. He turned at his brother's yell. It was too late for him to react to the being until it had already knocked him to the ground. Blue filled his vision, and he was enveloped in a soothing, smoky scent. Whatever it was, because he has no idea what it is, was breathing heavily, coughing out blood and groaning in pain. Once Damon had recovered his own breath, he managed to roll it off of him. And that's when he noticed it was a girl around their age. How do you know it coughed out blood if they're on top of you and you can't really see anything? I'll leave it as it's just an assumption that it's blood. Okay. Her long blue hair was matted with dirt and fresh blood. And there's a lot of blood going on in this chapter. Gotcha. Her eyes were squeezed shut with soft, pained moans escaping her bloodied lips. There's more blood, okay? There were dried tear tracks staining her dirty face. Her clothes were torn to shreds, barely hanging onto her unnaturally slender body. She had deep gouges in her shoulder blades that were steadily, get this, bleeding. But what surprised him the most was the fact that her face, back, sides, and arms were covered in vibrant blue scales. Her nails looked like claws, and they were coated in, you guessed it, fresh blood. I'm sorry, Star, if you ever go back and watch this, I'm just poking fun. I just think it's funny that we mentioned blood so many times in 2 paragraphs. So I am just poking fun, I swear. She opened her mouth to suck in a breath, and he noticed her teeth, incredibly long and sharp as well. She was scary. She was a monster in every sense of the word. He would have run off in fear, but her body seemed rooted in place. The scales lining her body began to peel off and fall to the ground, crumpling to dust the moment they touched the dirt. By the time Dante had caught up with him, all of the scales had fallen off. No way Dante would ever believe him if he told him what the girl was. Underneath her scales were bruises. Bruises everywhere. He managed to crack an eye open just a smidge, caught Damon's gaze. Damon's breath caught in his throat. She had the most beautiful blue eyes he'd ever seen. Her eyes held pain, sadness, loneliness, betrayal. Was drawn to her. He wanted to know how one so young could experience so much. You are a wordy little bastard for a 10-year-old. I'm just putting that out there. She may have been a monster in every physical sense of the word. Inside, she was a scared young girl who had too much cruelty just bestowed upon her. You are assuming a lot. And you would be correct. Because unfortunately for this girl, her creator is Starly 120. So she ain't seen nothing yet. I can already tell I am failing this audiobook audition, and I don't care. I'm kidding. There's no audiobook audition. This is just for fun. But I like the idea of going in and just assuming that's what I'm doing. Her eyes screwed shut, preventing Damon from reading any more of her. Her tense body twitched a few times before eventually going limp. Oh no, she collapsed! Her breathing becoming uncomfortably shallow. Damon panicked, afraid he was about to watch her die. Dante, we have to do something! Dante, who had been bewildered by the entire experience, nodded, because what else could he do? Together, they hoisted up the girl's light body and carried her back to their home. For some reason, there were a lot of police out that night, and somehow you two boys managed to make your way into the forest without them, and out of the woods, without them ever catching sight of you. Good job, little thieves in the making. She awoke with a start, jolting upright before an intense pain shot through her entire body. She let out a blood-curdling scream. Whoa! Hey, be careful there, hon. A pair of soft hands on her shoulders pushed her back down. After a couple of deep breaths, she managed to open her eyes. The walls weren't white and blank like she was used to. No blinding fluorescent lights shining down on her. She wasn't surrounded by old men wielding frightening instruments made for slicing her open. Oh God, this poor girl. The walls were a comforting shade of orange. The small room was illuminated by natural lighting peeking in through an open window. Her entire torso was bandaged and she was wearing unfamiliar shorts that barely fit around her waist. More importantly, there was a woman with long auburn hair and kind gray eyes staring at her with a worried expression plastered across her face. The woman let out a sigh of relief. Oh, thank goodness you're okay. You were out cold for 3 whole days. We honestly weren't sure if you were going to make it.
Emotional damage.
She looked at the woman again, checking for any signs of deception. Twitch of the eyebrows, malicious smile, unnatural eye contact. Tense muscles? Nervous breathing, perhaps? Nope, she wasn't displaying any of them. It surprised her. She allowed herself to lower her guard slightly. No, doctor? The woman looked bewildered at the sudden question. She probably wasn't expecting the girl to speak. Oh, no, I'm not a doctor. I am a nurse, though. So I'd say I'm at least somewhat qualified to take care of you. Her brows furrowed. That wasn't what she meant. And the big words the woman used only continued to confuse her. I don't know. If these are specific, I realize that this is just pure description, but if these are Kage's thoughts, she's using way bigger words than the nurse here is using. I'm just saying. Again, I'm poking fun. No, Dr. Place? She tried again. The woman paused, seemingly trying to make sense of her words. Dr. Place? Oh, hospital? The girl nodded. The term sounded familiar. The woman looked sheepish, a little guilty as well. Well, see, I definitely wanted to take you to the hospital, but one of my boys was so adamant on keeping you here. Do you want me to take you there? Her body seized up in fear. She tightly gripped the blanket draped over her body, afraid her only form of protection at the moment would be ripped away from her. She shook her head no, attempting to ignore the pain rocking her entire body at the movement. She wouldn't go back to that place. The woman began to panic at her intense reaction. Okay, no hospital, blah, blah, blah. Okay, no hospital it is then. While she did calm down slightly, she proceeded to keep her guard up this time. Well, how about your parents then? I bet they're worried sick about you. She stayed silent for a few minutes. Parents? Her father hated her from the moment she was born. Never outright told her so, but she could always tell by the look in his eyes whenever she spoke to him. She was sure the only reason he stuck around and didn't dump her off on the first street corner he could was because of his undying love for her mother. There was no way he could care about her, even if he had the ability to care anymore. Bum. Sip of water real quick. Her mother, however, was the only person in the entire world that understood her. She loved and cared for her like a delicate flower. Oh my god. I can't read this with a straight face. Hey, what's up, Star? Hey, how's it going? Welcome to the... What would be the phrase I would use here? I guess welcome to the... I don't know. What am I doing, BB? I'm a little bit confused. I'm over here stumbling with my words because I, for some reason, can't figure out how to address Star in this situation. But welcome! How's it going, everybody? I hope you guys had a fun stream. As you can see, I am reading Star's story, starting back from chapter 1, so that I can finally remember the freaking plot of this story! Look, it's been 2 years since I read it. I need help. I feel like it's just fine. How's it going? Where's I at? Oh, right. This really funny, very funny line. Her mother, however, was the only person in the entire world that understood her. She loved and cared for her like a delicate flower. She would wipe the blood from the corners of her mouth and ice her bruises. She would remember to give her food and water. She would provide her with the warm blankets on cold nights. She loved her mother unconditionally. Thinking about her caused her chest to tighten painfully. Star, you are a fucked up person. I just want you to know that as I read that paragraph, you are so fucking evil. Damn. Thank you for the lurk, BB. All right. There was no specific expression that crossed her face, so the woman had no idea what the young girl was thinking. The woman didn't think she'd say anything after that until her small, croaky voice filled the silence. Both dead. Dread filled the room. The girl, who looked so much younger than the woman's own 2 sons, was an orphan with serious injuries she'd never seen on a child before. Scrapes and bruises everywhere. A cracked rib, a gunshot wound in the right shoulder, deep holes in her shoulder blades, a feverishly high temperature, and pushed to pure exhaustion, almost to the point of death. Her sons told her that the girl had been running with all these injuries. She was surprised the girl managed to survive that night. The woman blinked back the tears she knew were coming as she leaned forward and enveloped the girl in a soft hug. She let out a confused hum, made no indication that she was uncomfortable with the interaction. As a mother herself, the woman felt some sort of obligation to show this child some sort of affection that she seemed to have not received during her entire young life. Can we get you for the rest of the story, please? Because Kage's gonna need it. Especially if Star is continuing this story. Like, she's gonna need it. All of Star's characters are gonna need therapy by the end of this story. Except for Ash. Ash's therapist is gonna be the one who needs a therapist. A loud grumble filled the room. The woman released her and chuckled. Here, let's go get you something to eat. She helped up the young girl, making sure she was able to stand properly before leading her out of the room. Their dining room wasn't too far from the guest room the girl was staying in. The girl noticed many framed pictures lining the long hallway towards a larger room. They all contained a woman, a man with dirty blonde hair and green eyes, and two young boys, both with auburn hair, and each one with one of their parents' distinct eye colors. She stopped at a picture of just the boys, staring at the one with his mother's soft gray eyes. "Those are my boys," the woman said, appearing next to the girl. "This one," she pointed to the one with her gray eyes, "is Damon. He's the younger of the two. And the other," she moved her finger along the picture to point to the one with sea green eyes and glasses, "is Dante. He's the older and very protective of his brother." "Psst, he won't admit it, though." The girl reached out, tracing her fingers over the image of the one called Damon. He saw her. He saw what she really was. She saw the fear in his eyes, the way everyone looks at her. Yet, he still brought her to his home to recover. Damon? Felt wrong, hearing his name come from the mouth of something like her. And yet she couldn't help it. She felt a warm, fuzzy sensation in her chest. She didn't know if she liked it or not. It's fine. Kage and Damon are still in their other gender has cooties phase. Don't worry about it, Kage. You'll get over it. The woman quickly went into one of the two rooms lining the hallway and returned with a plain black t-shirt. She helped the girl into the shirt, which was really baggy on the young girl, before continuing their trek to the dining room. She sat the girl down at the table before moving to the kitchen to start preparing a meal for the young girl. She decided to make a large brunch-type meal. She wasn't sure how much the young girl would eat, even if she was unconscious for 3 days. And whatever she didn't eat, the woman was sure her boys would snack on when they returned from school. Maybe. Who are we kidding? Boys coming home from school? Bottomless pits. As a person who has been watching a lot of hospital dramas, I feel like Kage, having come out of this situation, probably doesn't look the most healthy, and probably doesn't look like she'd be able to take any heavier types of meals. So I would almost expect a nurse to be probably should make something light. Not really a criticism here, but it is just something that I was thinking of because this was reminding me a bit of, how do I put it? It was reminding me of the of the Apothecary Diaries episode with Li Hua. Very sick, wasn't eating, couldn't really eat the foods that was being given. And so I was like, oh. And it is well known that and it depends on how much, like, you've mentioned that Kage is very thin. So I imagine probably went through some levels of starvation. And in those situations, the stomach shrinks as a way of, like, making the most of the nutrients they are getting. Or rather, to not force the body into, like, constant states of hunger. So in those situations, don't want to, like, overfeed them. This is just something that this was making me think of. Apologies. I'm not here to criticize. I'm here to read. If I'm going to criticize, I can put it in the comment section below. Let's see. Where did I just... Okay, return from school. She figured it wouldn't take her very long, but she still tried to strike up a conversation with her house guest while she waited. She brought the girl a glass of water. I know this is long overdue, but my name is Bryn Rose. Would you mind telling me yours? The girl drank her entire glass of water at once, handing Bryn the glass to signify another. He returned with another full glass and handed it to the girl. Do you have a name? The girl took another swig, this time only having the glass before placing it back down on the table. She nodded slowly. She opened and closed her mouth a few times, but the words never seemed to want to leave her throat. She shook her head. Bryn sighed, ruffling the small girl's hair, but not noticing the slight flinch at the action. That's all right. I won't force you to tell me. Bryn returned to the kitchen, continuing to make her meal for the girl. It took a little over an hour, but the young girl could barely contain her amazement at the feast that was presented to her. Pancakes and waffles, bacon and sausage, eggs and hash browns, bowls of fruit. That's nutritious. Maybe. Might be a bit much. The girl looked as though she hadn't seen this much food in her life. Bryn smiled at her handiwork, gesturing for her to dig in. And dig in she did. My God, this girl does not have any manners. Oh my God, she's eating with just her bare hands! Use a knife and fork, please! I'm sorry. I'm sorry, I'm just having a bit of fun, I swear. Oh, man. It was amazing, Bryn thought, as she watched the girl who was smaller than her own sons eat almost everything on the table. She left a few hash browns and a small portion of fruit left over, but other than that, she devoured every bit of food that was prepared for her, like she hadn't eaten in years. Oh, I was joking. She ate with her bare hands, giving no regard to the utensils or napkins beside her plate until she'd finished everything. Sometimes I'm just so in sync with Star's thought process that I honestly worry. Until she'd finished everything. Even then, Bryn had to help her clean off her face and hands. A very uncouth young child, but not one that couldn't be worked with. After a short kitchen clean and a couple of glasses of water later, two moved to a large room just beside the dining room. The room had a large couch and a couple of chairs laid out on the edges of a rectangular rug, bookshelves lining the sides of the room, small potted plants sitting on a windowsill, boxes of toys in between a relatively big flat-screen television. The young girl looked immensely relaxed immediately after entering the room. Bleh, bleh. The young girl looked immensely relaxed immediately after entering the room. I am failing this audition. The girl was immediately drawn to the TV. She cautiously approached, carefully reaching out to touch it. As soon as her fingertip grazed the screen, she recoiled harshly, as if she were afraid the TV was going to swallow her whole. She reached out, slower this time, until her palm flat against the TV screen. She looked relieved, yet confused. She turned to Bryn, who was watching her in intrigue. What this? Bryn approached her, gently pulling her hand away from the TV and picking up one of the remotes on the TV stand. She wasn't really sure how to explain. This is a television, or TV for short. It's something we use for entertainment. Here. Pressing a button on the remote, the TV flashed on to show a kid's cartoon about colorful animals. See, there's moving pictures on the screen. Sometimes we'll sit down and watch some of these to pass the time. The girl was entranced by the cartoon playing on the screen. She'd never seen anything like it before. After a moment, she pointed at the screen, staring at Bryn with wide eyes. Magic! Bryn couldn't help but chuckle at her reaction. If it helped her to understand, Bryn saw no harm in letting her think it was magic. Her eyes were full of wonder, and there was a small smile plastered on her lips. She almost looked like a real child. No injuries, no hospitals, no dead parents. Just a child. The front door opened behind them, and in trampled two 10-year-olds returning from a long day at school. I know you boys did not just walk in here without putting your shoes back at the door. Damon. There better not be mud traipsing through my hallway. Damon creeps back to the entrance of the door to remove his shoes. Sorry. Okay. Mom, we're home, Damon yelled before looking over at the two girls sitting by the TV. He immediately broke into a grin. Oh, you're awake. Now, that didn't sound good. Let me see. Oh, you're awake. The girl swiftly and silently made her way across the room and wrapped her arms around Damon. It was so fast that no one seemed to realize what was happening for several seconds until the girl's hoarse voice filled the air. Holy shit, this girl can teleport! Thank her. Save me. Damon didn't quite seem to know how to react. He also couldn't stop his face from heating up at the contact from the girl. Oh God, I've got cooties! Help me! Oh my God. My voice just cracked on that one. Hold on, let me drink some water. Okay, come on, Fox. Read it as is. Stop being a troll. Dante, from behind him, slowly shut the door, maneuvering around them towards the kitchen while eyeing the girls suspiciously. Dante, what is your problem? Oh, I see. You wanted a hug from Damon. Well, why don't you just ask? He's your brother, you damn tsundere. Come on, there's no reason to eye her so suspiciously. Yes, that's what his problem is. Let's see. Yeah, no problem. The girl squeezed a little tighter. You're choking me. You're choking me. Dante, I knew she was going to kill him. Grabs a knife, tries to stab her. Suddenly, Dante beheaded. Bryn picks up the phone and is like, okay, sweetie, we got to make 2 more. I'm sorry. I said I would read it as it is, but I just couldn't. I'm sorry. I might I might be a little bit crazy today. I don't know what's going on. All right. The girl squeezed a little tighter before releasing, giving him a soft smile. He couldn't help but smile bashfully back. He heard his mom mumble something about wanting to watch some special news channel, but he couldn't be bothered to pay attention as he locked eyes with the girl for the 2nd time. Her eyes had more life than the last time he saw them. They were mostly devoid of the pain and sadness they held the other night. He looked so much happier. Stone. Sorry. Oh, yeah. Definitely. Stone, the prime suspect in the murder of a 45-year-old man and 30 and a 39-year-old pregnant woman is still at large. If anyone has any information, please contact. The room froze. Yeah, 39. Yeah, you know what? Fuck 39. It's 39 now. Sorry, let me reread this properly. A. Stone, prime suspect in the murder of a 45-year-old man and 39-year-old pregnant woman, is still at large. If anyone has any information, please contact. The room froze. All eyes turned to her. As slow as she could manage, the girl turned to look at the TV. Out of all the moving pictures the magic box could show it had to be hers, there was a detailed moving picture showing her bursting out of a burning building, blood coating her clawed hands. She roared at the moving picture taker before inevitably scurrying off as the sirens began to approach. Woo, woo, woo. Oh yeah, you missed it earlier. I was providing sound effects. It felt odd watching herself from an outsider's perspective. She could definitely understand why everyone referred to her as a monster. Kind of rude, but understandable. Dante, what are you... oh, sorry. Dante, what are you... Bryn's call came too late. Dante rushed towards Damon and the girl, pushing Damon out of the way and plunging a kitchen knife into the girl's right forearm as she tried to defend herself. Idiot. She screamed in pain, bringing up her leg and kicking him right in the balls. Oh, God, dang it. I wish I was Okaroon right now. Sorry, I just finished watching season 1 of of Dan to Dan. I almost said Danganronpa for some reason. I'll admit it. Of Dan to Dan. Changing it to kicking him in the balls right now. So right now, I've got a lot of ball humor a bit right now. Oh, man. We do things in the heat of passion, Jimbo. Where was I at again? Okay. Bringing up her leg and kicking him away with a powerful blow to the abdomen that sent him to the floor. She grit her teeth as she gripped the knife handle, attempting to will her body not to become the monster she knows it'll inevitably become. despite knowing full well how futile it was the moment her body heat spiked. Bryn rushed to Dante's side as the blade began melting from the girl's rising temperature. She tore it out of her arm quickly, screaming painfully as she watched her blood splatter onto the wooden floor along with the knife. She clung to the sides of her head, screeching, trying desperately to stop her body. All the Rose family could do was watch on in horror. Man, y'all suck. At least try to calm the girl down. Y'all rude as fuck. She tried to kill my baby! Yeah, well, your baby stabbed her. Honestly, he deserved it. Just saying. Moving on. The girl collapsed to the ground, her body trembling. I don't know. How much could they tell that that she was about to burst into flames? Like, was she smoking? And if she was, shame on you, Star, for enabling a child smoker. Shame on you. This will be a fun story at the family barbecue years later. More like Steam? Oh, yeah. Okay, sorry. Where was I at? The girl The girl collapsed to the ground, her body trembling. Her nails began to grow unnaturally long at an alarmingly fast rate, until they looked less like fingernails and more like claws. Starting from her fingers, her skin looked as though it were turning inside out to reveal brightly colored blue scales hidden underneath that ran all the way up her arms. She banged her head off the floor, panting hard, hoping to give herself some relief from the excruciating pain she was feeling. Oh, I am so sorry, sweetheart, but unfortunately there is no escape. Your author is Starly120, and I am so sorry for that. And then the shaking stopped. Slowly, the girl looked up at the woman who allowed her to take refuge in her house, and her son, who just stabbed her in the arm. They noticed the happy, lively eyes she'd had moments before were replaced. Eyes that held nothing but rage. Eyes of someone who's killed before. They would have been a little less frightened if her pupils weren't slit like that of a cat or a snake. Bryn held on to Dante, trying her best to calm her trembling body. Dante wasn't any better. He was clutching his mother in fear, trembling harshly with tears rolling down his cheek, with Damon looking on smugly. Who's the scaredy cat now, bitch? Bryn looks at Damon. Not that time. Fine, I never get to do anything fun. I keep saying I'm gonna stop. I keep saying I'm gonna stop, but I can't help it. The words, they enter my head, and I'm just like, fuck it. This is A Tale of One Shadow if it was a comedy. Oh, man. Dude, I might actually do that. Make a video where it's just me pulling a bunch of, like, lines from this, but then me just ad-libbing from it. That might be funny. Bryn held on to Dante, trying her best to calm her trembling body. Dante wasn't any better. He was clutching his mother in fear, trembling harshly with tears rolling down his cheeks. The girl slowly rose to her feet, a low growl escaping her lips. Grrr. I can't growl. She took a step forward, bloodied arm raised. Fuck you. I want to be happy. Happy times. She lunged. She roared. Her arms swung down. There was a flash of auburn. There was blood that didn't belong to her. Or Bryn. Or Dante. Kage frowned. I wanted it to be Dante. Fuck. Alright, who did I hit? The girl's pupils became rounded again, indicating that she seemed to snap back to reality. She stumbled backwards, panting as the scales began to rot off her body. She looked at the two in front of her and was relieved to see that she didn't harm either of them. But she mumbled under her breath, "Damn it, I was aiming for him! Fuck, who did I hit?" Until she looked down and that relief melted away. Damon laid on his side with 4 distinct claw marks littering the left side of his hairline, blood oozing down his pained face. Fortunately for him, the wounds weren't that deep. He was breathing. He would live. Oh, no. I hit the only one of you that I liked. Fuck. Moving on. Okay. But he'd have to live with an awful reminder of her existence. Bryn lunged forward, clutching Damon in her arms, calling out to him and making sure he was still breathing. Ooh, I should write that down for the fanfic idea. Okay. Starred. Is Damon scarred? Like physically scarred by the claw marks? I'm just remembering the picture that you always have, and since it never has the scar marks, I assume... Okay. Damn, that would make for a good, like, idea for a bit of Damon's plot in the fanfic. Okay. Damn it, I don't want to go over to my Google Docs right now. Star, remind me of this plot point later. I'm kidding. I will hope that I remember. Fuck, so much investment. Yeah, I know, right? So much investment in a fanfic that he's never actually going to get around to writing because, unfortunately, he sucks at actually making time to write shit. Bryn lunged forward, clutching Damon in her arms, calling out to him and making sure he was still breathing. Once she confirmed that he was, she ordered Dante to go grab the nearest phone and call the police. The girl attempted to take a step forward. Stay away from us! She ended up taking 2 steps backward. Oh, that's hilarious. You won't know why it's hilarious, but it's just because I just had lyrics playing in my head. It was like 2 steps back is 1 less forward. Like, literally, it was a song with lyrics that I came up with while reading A Tale of One Shadow. And I was like, it's really funny that this was here. It's a metaphor. Let's see. Sorry. The way Bryn glared at her caused her to break down and sob violently. She'd seen the look in her eyes too many times to count. She had many burdens to shoulder, but this one was too much for her to handle. "I'm sorry," was the only thing the girl managed to choke out through the sobs that racked her already frail body. I can't do crying characters. I'm so bad at it. And even more so because I'm trying to keep in mind that Kage's voice would be very... I guess the crying wouldn't really stop that. It's like, I don't know how to do crying characters because I'm not much of a crier. Where it's more like I'm very much the type of person who is like, if I do cry, I just kind of stand in silence and let the tears fall. Let's see. The anger in Bryn's eyes faltered ever so slightly. She may have felt sorry for the young girl, but she would never forgive her for endangering her sons. Everything was fine until your dumb-ass son was like, I'm going to take a knife and shove it into this monster. Everything was fine. Nobody was in danger until Dante decided to be an idiot. Just saying. If you guys don't know, I have beef with Dante. I am the let me see. If Dante has a million haters, I am at least one of them. If Dante had no haters, then I no longer walk this earth. That is all you need to know. In-laws, am I right? Moving on. Get out of here. I never want to see you again. Bryn spat, her voice full of malice. Oh, I can't do like a malicious voice either. Damn, I'm trying. It's like, let me try that again. Awkward. Star looks at Ashley. I look at Revel. Sorry. Oh, man. Now, let's see if I can do this. Here, I never want to see you again. Okay. Get out of here. I never want to see you again. Bryn spat, her voice full of malice. I didn't like that one either. Like, that one sounds too calm, maybe a little too cold. Bryn is, like, spitting the words, so she seems like she'd be very filled with anger. I'm just... okay. I'm gonna turn the gain down just a little bit here to do something. Get out of here. I never want to see you again. How did that sound? Nah, I still didn't like it. Moving on. Bryn spat, her voice full of malice. The girl hesitated for a moment. She glanced down at the boy coddled in his mother's protective embrace and noticed his blood-coated eyes had opened slightly. Her breath caught in her throat. Damon's eyes were blank. She couldn't tell how he was feeling, and if she were being completely honest, she didn't want to know. She already had that feeling in her gut that told her Damon probably saw her the way the rest of them saw her. A monster. Nothing more, nothing less. The girl backed away slowly, wiping her tears on her wounded arm and smearing blood on her face. As soon as she opened the door, sirens rang out in the distance. Panic overtook her, and she ran to the only place she knew she could be safe. The forest. Hopefully, never to be seen again. Well, if that were true, we wouldn't have a story. Let's see. I'm just gonna go ahead, put it in my comments here. One thing well, you know what? I mean, Star's here, so maybe I don't have to type it out. I could, though. I could type it out just so Star has a permanent reminder. I don't know. I don't know how to word things correctly is the... I don't know how to word things correctly in this situation, so... Okay. You know what? I told you like my opinion of it live, so I don't see any reason to put it here. And if I ever feel like I need to make the point again, I'll probably put it up. Yeah, I'll probably put it in a Toos discussion. Okay, here we go, guys. It's time for some water. Look, I am very, very parched right now. Very parched. Reading all of this is very thirsty work. Meow. Okay, so how long did that take us? An hour and a half. It took us an hour and a half to read the first chapter. We're going to be here for a while. And chapter 9 is a doozy. All right, let's go ahead. Let's jump right into it. We might have to do this as a two-parter. All right. Let's get started. Chapter 2. We'll meet again. Notes. Just so y'all know, Kage is supposed to be pronounced Kage, not Cage. Thanks for coming to my TED Talk. Am I supposed to sound like you? Grr. Grr, grr. Star sounds. Kiwi, no. Tamamo. Oh no, sexy fox women. Are any of these... Kiwi, no. Are any of these good? Oh my god. I wasn't... Sorry, it's just, I saw the y'all, and I was like, I just started thinking of Lotta Hart from Ace Attorney. I was like, fuck it, we're doing the country accent. Oh my god. I've been watching way too much Ace Attorney. I have literally been watching... Yeah, it's literally just Shadow in Japanese. But if you're not like somebody who knows that, you would probably just think it's a weird spelling of cage. You know, like bench. Hashtag Emily Cage. Okay, I'll stop. All right. It had been almost 10 years since the day. Damon remembers her often. Sorry. It had been almost 10 years since that day. Damon... Damn, what is... Okay. Can't read. I mean, I'm reading fine, but it's like... My pronunciation is so weird, like... Alright. It had been almost 10 years since that day. Damon remembers her often. He often wonders if there was some way that day could have ended differently. Yeah, if your brother wasn't an idiot. If there was some peaceful outcome, if his mom hadn't turned on the news, or Dante hadn't turned things so extreme so quickly. Dante was just trying to protect him from what he thought was a threat. He knows that. But there could have been a better way to do it. Damon sighed as he stared down the dirt path. He'd been there many times during those long years, never finding the courage to go down the path alone. His family forbade him from stepping foot in the forest, anywhere near her. But that didn't stop him from trying. Of course, his lack of courage never got him anywhere close to where she might be. But he was determined to change that. Sucking in a deep breath. All right. Damon began walking down the dirt path. Wasn't any easier the second time around, but his adult brain made it easier to rationalize his fears than his child brain did. He was still startled by the crunching of dead leaves beneath his feet, or the wind howling through the vast amount of trees. But he no longer believed that ghosts or shadow beings were going to jump out at him. Right. Nope. Nothing is going to get me, except maybe wolves, bears. This might have been a terrible idea. Besides, there was only one monster that lived in the forest. I don't know, Damon might like that last one. That's specifically the reason he's out here. Damon just walking through the forest. Shh. I'm hunting dragon girls. Kage tiptoeing behind him. Shh. I'm hunting delusional redheads. Alright, moving on. The girl had made quite the name for herself over the years. The police never found her that day, and it seems she spent the rest of her days scaring the ignorant masses out of her territory. There were many stories about her. Some said she was a vengeful spirit who stole away children in the night. Others said she was a monster. A big scaly monster with long teeth and razor-sharp claws that ate anyone who came near. Most, however, said she was a demon. Her humanoid figure used to lure them in, only to reveal her curled horns and devious eyes to burn their souls away with the hellfire that clung to her inhuman body. The stories were quite outlandish. The stories were quite outlandish, Damon had to admit. But they at least held some semblance of the truth. What I was trying to do with that paragraph, if you couldn't tell, is that I wanted Damon to reflect on these rumors almost angrily. Like, rather than just read it out as factual, Damon feels like a kind of anger towards the people who say this about her. He doesn't know why he feels angry. He just does. And so that's how I wanted to, like, display that little paragraph right there. Did it come across that way, or did it just come across as, like, Fox, you just sound a little funny? Damon made it to the clearing relatively quickly. The house hadn't changed one bit since the last time he saw it. Odd, he thought. If she were living here, surely she must have moved something. He cautiously approached the house, afraid she'd jump out at him, assuming he was just another hooligan going somewhere they didn't belong. Not entirely untrue, but not the point. He managed to make it through the busted door frame and into a large, dark room. The wooden floors were rotting. The furniture was old and moldy. Shelves were knocked over, with broken glass and damp, crumpled paper scattered all over the rotting wood. Damon did his best trying to navigate through the house without stepping on anything. There was a set of stairs that were blocked by old debris just before another room that looked like a dining area. The condition was the same as the first room, moldy and broken items strewn about. Except for one out-of-place picture frame resting on an out-of-place table. Curious, Damon approached to get a better look. The table was the only thing he could find that wasn't destroyed. It stood upright, all of its legs still intact, with only minor scratches along the top. The picture frame had also barely sustained any damage, neither from the calamity that destroyed the house, nor the shackles of time. The picture was of a smiling family. The one that used to live in the house, he assumed. The girl he met 10 years ago was in the picture, along with the man she killed. But the woman in the picture wasn't the one who appeared on the news all those years ago. She had the same hair color as the girl, that same distinct blue. So, he assumed they must be related in some way. She never appeared on the news during the incident, though. She looked old enough to be the girl's mother. But if that were the case, then who was the woman she killed? Damon was told that both of her parents were dead, so where does this woman come into the picture? Literally. Ash in the picture. Oh, I'm not needed here? Good. I've got things to torture. Walks out of the picture frame. Things to torture, puppies to kick, children to traumatize. You fool, Damon! You have freed her! At last I am free! It's time to conquer Earth! Sorry. I just started thinking of Rita Repulsa. I missed the OG Power Rangers. Can we get a reboot of that show, please? Actually, let's not, because I don't think anybody can... Nobody could truly replace the OG Tommy Oliver. Moving on. Okay, where was it? There we were. Damon decided not to dwell on it for too long. Yeah, Star, you did write this. Gods, is my storytelling this good? Have I somehow bamboozled even the author to not recognizing their own story? No. Alright, where was I at again? Damon decided not to dwell on it for too long, opting to instead leave the house before gravity decided to collapse it on top of him, which honestly, probably is not far off. Oh, man. As he walked back to the dirt path, his eyes glazed over. His eyes. Okay, you have a bit of a typo, maybe? I think you meant his eyes gazed. Honestly speaking, I probably wouldn't have even noticed that typo if not for the fact that I stopped between paragraphs. Because I know for a fact that I did not notice that the first time that I read. His eyes gazed over at the top. Over at the. Okay, this is just me not being able to read. His eyes gazed over at the tree line where he swore he saw a shadow move. It was probably an animal. Nothing to worry about. Just an animal. Like a bear, a wolf, a deer, or a feral dragon bitch. That didn't stop him from changing course. Yeah, let's not go that way. Yep, this way looks good. Let's just go down the much darker, scarier path where nothing has shown its face just yet. Walking towards the direction of the shadow. So you see something move in the darkness, and your big idea is to go closer to it. Kage, you might need a leash for this boy. And that's ironic, because sometimes it feels like Kage is the one that needs the leash. You know what? Forget it. Kage's not the one who... Kage's not the one chasing cars, it's Damon. Damon just tries to pretend to be more sensible about it. Kage is just like, I chase cars because I want to chase car. That's it. Okay. There were no physical paths to follow, but somehow Damon managed to convince himself that he wasn't completely lost. He could still hear cars rushing down the highway just outside the woods, which gave him a sense of how far in he was going. He was at least aware of which way was out. It didn't really help when he had absolutely no idea where he was going. He remembered passing what looked like a lake, maybe just a very large pond. Who knows? But that was about the only landmark he had. Eventually, Damon stumbled upon a cave etched into a cliffside deep within the forest. It was vacant, but inside was a makeshift fireplace, which was unlit and looked like it hadn't been used all day. There was a half-eaten deer carcass behind the fireplace. The bones laying beside it looked completely clean. The sight made Damon grimace. He looked to the left, and then to the right, making sure he didn't just accidentally stumble upon her home. Even if he did, there was no way for him to actually spot her if she were watching him. It still reassured him to check, even if it was in vain. He released the breath he didn't realize he'd been holding. He turned and left the way he came. Damon subconsciously grazed his fingers over the 3 finger-length scars lining the left side of his forehead. He shouldn't be out in the woods. It was a crazy, stupid idea to think he could find her again. Who... No, I want to read this in a way that really feels like Damon's thoughts. It was a crazy, stupid idea to think he could find her again. Who knew what she could be capable of this time around? He might not be so lucky if he were to encounter her again. But still, that didn't stop him from thinking about the look in her eyes on that day. Okay, he mentions 3 scars. I thought he had 4 slashes. Oh, is one of them like, did one of them like not go as deep and so it healed? Or does he have like one that's just kind of not really in a noticeable spot, so he only really... Okay. 4th one was shallow. Got it. Just trying to make sure. His family called her a monster. But Damon disagrees. Monster wouldn't have eyes full of remorse after committing atrocities. It was an accident. She was scared, she was hurt. Most importantly, she was sorry. Damon sighed as he stopped at the lake he saw earlier. It was one of the only areas illuminated by the bright moonlight. The water was still, reflecting the many stars unseen to the city eyes, and large crescent moon in a very picturesque way. It was, in short, beautiful. He suddenly became envious of the one who got to experience sights like this regularly. Damon felt as though he could stare at it forever. That is, until he spotted a figure near the shore of the lake. The figure was waist deep in the water, staring up at the moon, standing perfectly still, with their back facing Damon. It was a wonder how Damon didn't notice them. Your situational awareness sucks, Damon. Gotta work on that, buddy. What Damon did notice, however, as he glanced down ever so slightly, was a bundle of clothing. When he looked back up at the figure, he noticed their long hair and ever so slight hourglass body shape. His breath caught in his throat as he slowly retreated behind a nearby tree. Damon tried his best to calm his racing heart. He heard a single splash, and then nothing. He waited a minute before peeking his head out from behind the tree. Oh no, a woman! It was an enemy that we had never encountered before, with a power that we could not resist. What was it? A woman. I fucking... Oh my god. Alright, moving on. Okay. He wondered if they knew he was there. Sorry. He wondered if they knew he was there and decided to swim out further under the water. He watched for another minute, but the figure never resurfaced. His heart began pounding against his rib cage, this time out of fear. He pressed his back against the tree, wondering what to do. That's when something dropped from the tree. Holy shit! Why must everything out here give me a heart attack? Sorry, I was doing clapping sounds to simulate, like, heartbeat. But then I'm like, probably didn't work out that well. Honestly speaking, I almost think it would, like, if this were a movie, all that would happen is Damon would turn around and Kage would just be there. Not even a drop down from the tree. She's just fucking there. And honestly, both are just funny as hell. Damon never got the chance to scream as he was quickly grabbed by the collar of his jacket and pinned up against the tree. Hey, at least take him out to dinner first. Well, the bright side is that dinner is already available. You have a half-eaten carcass like over in the cave. Oh, I'm sorry, this isn't chapter 9 yet. Oh, wait, I'm sorry, I forgot. They got blue-balled in chapter 9. The author was like, no, not yet! Moving on. I mean, I don't really care if they do or they don't. Like, literally, you could just never tell us that they did, and then, boom, Ashley's there. There was a low growl. Grrr. And Damon immediately knew who he was being restrained by. The only noise that escaped his mouth were pathetic, frightened whimpers. Damon's thoughts in this moment. Please don't be able to tell that I'm turned on. I'm not gonna lie, when it said frightened, pathetic whimpers, I was like, why do I just imagine Genchi? And then I'm like, you know what? I can kind of just blame Star because Star keeps describing Genchi as the super pathetic man. I'm like, you know what? It's not wrong. He was lowered slightly, but the growling never ceased. It grew louder, closer, and Damon could feel her hot breath on his face. Still, he refused to open his eyes. He sent out a silent, mental message to his family that they will never be able to hear. Mom? Dad? Doggo? I'm sorry, but I'm probably about to die. And Dante? You suck. Sorry. Okay, fine. I'll read it as is. Mom, Dad, Dante, I'm sorry, but I'm probably about to die. It didn't sound like I was afraid. Just completely resigned to the possibility of death. And then, the growling stopped. Damon felt warm fingers tracing the scars on his forehead. The grip on his collar loosened, and his feet finally made contact with the ground. Oh, man. Again. Finally made contact with the ground again. Damon found himself no longer able to keep his eyes shut. Why not? Why are you not able to? Before him stood a very short girl, her long blue hair fortunately covering her chest. Her face was inches away from his, her deep blue eyes studying his scars. A small squeak. Squeak! I can't imagine Kage squeaking, but then I'm just like, like if you've ever heard the sound of like a dog's chew toy, that's just the sound Kage made. And I can't make that sound. Let me go find a dog's chew toy. Replaced the threatening growl, as if she were trying to say something, but didn't quite know how. She let go and took a step back. Damon refused to look anywhere but at her face. Specifically, her eyes. Bravo! Bravissimo, Damon! A true gentleman at last. Too bad you're fictional, huh? Chivalry isn't dead. Let's see. Oh man, I don't know how to do like a starstruck impression, or just like absolute simp impression. You know, let me go study English dub Genchi real quick and see how he does it. Oh my god. Oh, let me take a sip of water. We're never gonna finish? Nope. I mean, I'm doing this for fun, and to be fair, I said I could have just done this as video. I would be less likely to make these kind of ad-libs. I probably still would do it, but I probably would have just like done it as like blooper reels, and I would have had like a whole edited section, so at least that way you guys would just get me reading instead of me just fucking around. Specifically, her eyes. Nope, I'm trying to get the line correct. I really just want to get this line right. Okay. Think of Tamamo, think of Tamamo, think of Tamamo. Just think of a character that you had a crush on. Just fucking do it. I just can't think of I just can't pull out that emotion because I've never had a time where I'm just like looking at someone and just thinking, wow, she's got beautiful eyes. Wait, did I just fucking do it? Except he's not like full on simp. He's more like he's just starstruck, and it's like I don't know how to do it. Do that again? I don't know how. Okay. It's really funny because I can actually improv like fucking crazy, but I can't do this shit. Okay. Damon refused to look anywhere but at her face. Channel your inner Okaroon. Specifically, her eyes. I'm trying. It's just like, it's like, alright. Alright. I think it's the words here that are making it tricky, because it's like, alright, those damned eyes. I think. Damon refused to look anywhere but at her face, specifically her eyes. Those damned eyes. No, that sounded way too thirsty. That just sound... Nope, I don't think I like that one. I don't think I like that one. That was good. All right. We'll leave it. But I'm not sure I agree with it. Let me try doing my... Let's try doing releasing inner Jinshi. Jinshi would be like, those damned eyes. Nope, that just sounded weird. I'm too much of a perfectionist at shit. Like, if I'm doing something, I'm like, it's gotta sound right. Ew. I know, right? That one just sounded awful. Back to the reading, because I just don't think I'm gonna get the perfect one. You could see many emotions swirling around in those eyes. Shock, confusion, remorse, longing, and then fear. It seemed as though she didn't know how to express any of them. She swallowed hard before opening her mouth to speak. Her soft yet scratchy and hoarse voice sounded like it hadn't been used in years. Hey, men? And then she fled. I don't know why I read it like that. I don't know why I read it like that. And then she fled. Sorry. She gone! She gone! And then she fled. Now I gotta get into Kage's headspace for this one. She was shocked. She was confused. Why was he here? The last time she saw him, she sliced his head open. Surely his family would never let him near her again. So why was he here? But at the same time, she wanted to see him. She wanted to tell him how sorry she was for hurting him. How sorry she was that she couldn't control herself better. But the look of disappointment, of fear, always accompanied those wistful thoughts. Now that she had come face to face with him again, she realized she was afraid to see that look across his features. So she did what she does best. She ran. She could hear him calling out to her. Okay. I think you meant her. Again, the only reason I'm noticing these, like, I still read it as her. So, it was literally only because I paused that I even realized this said here. See, it's a good thing I'm doing this every once in a while. I'm finding your typos. As she whirled around trees, making noise in one direction before taking off in another. She was using his only reliable source of tracking her, his hearing, against him. Eventually, his voice died out. She skidded to a stop to catch her breath. She strained her ears, listening for his distinct voice or footsteps. Any indication that he was still following her. When she heard none, she let out a deep breath, resting a hand on her chest to calm her racing heart. She climbed the closest tree to her to figure out her bearings. She wasn't too far away from her cave. Hopping down, she cautiously made her way back, just in case Damon was still following her. She reached her cave relatively quickly. Everything was still in the same place she left it. She strolled over, sitting down next to the fireplace and raising her hand to light it. Kage? Star's just like, fuck you, Fox, for finding my typos. Her eyes widened. Her entire body froze. The word hung heavily in the air, threatening to crush her. Buried memories resurfaced, stealing the air from her lungs. How did he even... She turned to look, and sure enough, Damon was standing here, one hand over his eye and the other holding a bundle of clothing out to her. Oh. Right. Standing again, she shuffled over to him, grabbing her clothes and slipping them on. She swallowed hard, moving his hand away from his eyes. How... my name... Oh, it was on the news for a while, all those years ago. She nodded. That made sense. It was a major incident after all. He sucked in a breath. Listen, You go. What? She turned her back to him. She couldn't bear to see the look on his face. You hate Kage. She could barely find it in herself to choke out her own name. She hated it so much. There was a beat of silence. But I don't... But I don't hate you, Kage. I know that's not what's written. Fine, I'll read it as is. But I don't know. It felt like it because he's denying it. So that's why I felt like adding the but in there. But no, don't work. Look at this bitch adding words. I'm sorry. I'm increasing your word count. It felt natural. I don't know. Adding one word. I don't hate you, Kage. Her eyes widened in disbelief. There was no way he couldn't hate her. She kept her back to him, afraid that if she turned around, she would see deception in his eyes. The thought brought old memories to the forefront of her mind. Her vision filled with chilling old men telling her that everything would be fine and that it wouldn't hurt one bit. But Bryn don't hate. She felt a hand resting on her shoulder, followed shortly by a soft, "Turn around, please." Swallowing the lump forming in her throat, she turned. There were no old men, devious eyes, chilling smiles. Just Damon, staring at her with eyes full of sadness. Look, I don't hate you. I don't exactly agree with everything you did back then either. Sorry. I didn't see that word. All right. Look, I don't hate you. I don't exactly agree with everything you did back then either, though. He paused to take a breath. But I don't want to go blindly assigning blame. I want to know why you did what you did. I want to know who drove you to this. Most importantly, I just want to help you. She flinched at that word. Help? Nothing good ever came from it. People never wanted to help her. People only wanted to use her. Growling, she spat out. No help. Nope, that wasn't good. Growling, she spat out. No help. I just can't do it. All right. I'll just keep going. Fox, don't let the perfectionism take over. Damon was taken aback. What? Help. Bad. And with that, she turned her back on him. She sat herself down next to the fireplace, raising her hand with her palm facing the unlit wood. Without warning, her hand jerked forward slightly and a ball of fire shot out from her palm, igniting the wood. The action caused Damon to jump. She looked at Damon, staring deep into his eyes, hoping to convey the message she couldn't with her voice alone. Do you really want to help me? Or do you also want to slice me open? There was a long silence. Damon shifted uncomfortably, but she was used to silence. Silence would never be anything but welcoming to her. She eventually broke eye contact, Fox, Reed, concluding that he wasn't able to pick up on her silent plea. She turned away, deciding that she'd seen enough. Go. Turn up the gain a little bit so I can do this. Go. But Kage. Hey, congratulations, Star. You got a better plot than HSR Fate collab. Nice. Go away. Stop saying that name. Her shoulders tensed. She found herself screwing her eyes shut, despite not even facing the man. She heard him suck in a deep breath. Another beat of silence, followed by, "All right. I'll leave. I'll see if I can stop by again soon. So don't disappear on me again, okay?" She didn't know what was wrong with him. He had a home, a family, a life. He didn't need to waste his time on something like her. She was perfectly content being alone. She was always alone and would always be alone. There was nothing he could do to change that fact. Yet she couldn't quell her desire to see him again. He was just as much of an enigma to her as she was to him. Okay. He let out a relieved sigh. She couldn't see it, but he was probably smiling. All right then, I'll see you later. Insert picture of Ayase and Okaroon saying, "See you tomorrow." Yeah. Me just immediately wanting, like, after stream to go watch season 2 because of where season 1 fucking ended off. I have never seen a season end that way before. Like, I was actually sitting there and I was like, okay, is there an episode 13 that I don't know about? Because this is ass. Like, even if you have full intentions of having a second season, usually you build up to your final episode of a season. You don't build down. All I gotta say is that season 2 better be a fucking banger, because otherwise I'm gonna be so pissed off. Okay, where was I? He left before she could respond. She wasn't going to anyway, and he probably knew that. Turned her head to where he once stood, confirming he was actually gone, before staring into the warm glow of the lit fireplace. Her lips curled into a small smile for a moment. Fire was the closest connection she had to her deceased mother, and she often found herself seeking out its warmth when she required consolation or guidance from someone who was no longer with her. She sought out her guidance then, and she could do it again now. Mom, what do? Mom, please help me. I don't know what to do or how to feel. It's the first one aside from you who wants to form a genuine connection with me. I don't know what he sees in me, especially after what I did to him. The fire flickered aimlessly in front of her. She sucked in a deep breath. Scared. I'm scared he might be faking it, Mom. I'm scared he's going to send me back to them. I don't want to go back. She waited. Waited for some sort of sign to appear in the midst of the flames, telling her how to approach the situation. She'd seen it back then, when she escaped from them, when she sought revenge on her father for betraying her and her mother. The flames always told her what to do, so why wasn't there anything appearing now? Why wasn't her mother helping her? Please, she choked out, not realizing tears had already begun to stream down her face. The fire continued to flicker, and after a moment, she gave up waiting for help that would never come. Her body trembled as tears continued to pour out of her eyes. She covered her mouth, attempting to muffle the hiccups and sobs that escaped her lips. Even her own mother, the one who swore to always be there for her, had abandoned her. She was fully and truly alone. Allowing the fire to die out, took off her shirt. She crumbled it into a ball before resting her head on it. She was exhausted, both mentally and physically. A lot of things happened that she never would have expected to happen. She didn't realize that talking to someone, even for a short period of time, could be so draining. Heaving a sigh, she turned her back to the world, and Kage fell asleep. Notes. Okay, so I realized that I need to replot my entire story again. So I don't know when I'll get the next chapter out, but I'll do my best. And oh my god, if that is not the life of a writer, then I don't know what is. All right. Yeah, I saw some of the tags. I didn't read all of them, but I did see some of them, and I think the two that made me laugh the most, or the one that I immediately noticed, was consensual kissing this time and let men cry. And I was just like, okay, this is funny. Not because the subjects themselves are funny, but just because they were the first ones that I was like, they stood out to me to a point that I was like, okay. All right, everybody, what are your thoughts? What are your thoughts on the story so far? What are your thoughts on Fox's terrible audiobook skills? I'm doing my best that if I can notice whose, voice we're using, even for thoughts, I'm trying to, pay attention to, okay, are we looking at Kage's thoughts or Damon's thoughts? And if it's Kage's, I do want to be a bit rougher, but I'm trying to stay like more in the area of kind of depression or depressed. Someone who is lost in the world kind of thing. That's the vibe that I kind of have for her. Whereas with Damon, I try to remain as soft and soothing as possible, but still like really trying to bring out like some of the emotions I think he's feeling when these words are coming out. So the interpretation part is hard of this. Let Men Cry was for chapter 5, but yeah, I thought consensual kissing this time was funny. It was. It made me chuckle. What were the other tags you had for it? I assume... Let's see. Chapter 8 is a ride. I'm sorry. Hints of genocide. Is Azura here or something? Mute character. She has telepathy, though. Ancient languages. Wowzers. Consensual kissing this time. Kissing! Dragon girls taking their BFs for a flight. They really... You actually made a tag called "They Really Wanted to Bang." When the traumatized kids you create just want to fuck, but you have more trauma to put them through. Oh my god. Oh my god. How did that not stand out to me? Okay. I forgot about it, if you want me to be honest. I just it just slipped my mind that you were going to do that. Okay, moving on, I guess. Chapter 3. Language. Mommy, Kage said the F word. Sorry, that's just like literally. That's just what it made me think of. I don't know why. It just sounded like some kid. It just sounded like someone's parent getting onto them for saying like a bad word. Like, you ever have that where it's like you say a bad word when you're a kid and your parents are like, you watch your language. I wish I was as much of a smartass kid that I would have like replied immediately back and said, well, I'm pretty sure I'm speaking English. I can't possibly be speaking any other languages because I don't know any. Only things I know of in Spanish are the basics of what was taught in high school. Actually, I think before we start chapter 3, I'm going to go on break real quick to get some water. I'm about out, and I am very parched after that last chapter. So, BRB, everybody. Alright, I'm back. Okay, I'm back. So, just to kind of feed my ego a little bit, you guys don't have to actually play along. I'm kidding. I mean, I would like a little bit of feedback. How have you guys been enjoying the reading? For those of you that are still here, I think it's just start. Oh my god. But how has it been so far? It's been a good time? That's good. I made this joke at the beginning of the stream where I was chastising you, saying that you needed to be more confident since you were putting your story out there, and that's always a good thing. And it's really funny because I'm like, I don't have a leg to stand on because I constantly question my ability to do anything. I go out to do anything, and I'm constantly questioning. I am constantly questioning whether or not I did a good job. I'm at work. I just mowed a lawn. One of the simplest tasks in existence. And I'm like, did I fuck it up? Did I fuck it up? Did I fuck it up? I'm just sitting here chilling out, practicing voice acting, and I'm like, oh my god, am I fucking this up? Am I fucking this up? And it's like, it's just the thing. And I hate it because it reminds me of that YouTube ad that just like is like, procrastination is da 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 da. I've shown you like a clip of it, I think. I want to hear the song for the chapter. Maybe later. Because we've got so much to get through. I mean, to be fair, I guess like 3 minutes really wouldn't kill it, but I'm just all ready to dive back in. All right, here we go. It's time for chapter 3. See the end of the chapter for notes. But there's notes right there. How dare you deceive me? I see notes. So why must I go to the end of the chapter for notes? I have been deceived. Betrayal. Deception. Sorry. Like, what is it? Deception. Disgrace. Evil as plain as the scar on his face. I can't remember the lyrics. Like, deception, disgrace, evil as plain as the scar on his face. I know that I didn't hit the right keys for that. I haven't heard that song in years, though. Lamau, yeah. To be also fair, I can't sing worth a damn. And I accept that. I accept that I will never be able to hit those keys. I do want to take singing lessons in the future, though. Like, oh my god. Can I just say 100% YouTube is the worst. Like, literally, if you want to learn how to sing, do not look it up on YouTube. I swear to you, these people do not help. Yeah. I'm trying to think of songs where I think I can get somewhat decent, and it's like, we're soaring, flying, there's not a star in heaven that we can't reach. And that's like at the very beginning of the song, and then they start building up, and I really can't do it. True, as long as you're having fun, that's all that matters. But no, I will say this. Do not look up singing lessons on fucking YouTube. These people are no help. For the most part, they will recommend very good tactics for getting better at singing. I do want to clarify that. The problem is that they don't really teach you how to do it. Like, if they say, okay, you need to sing scales, well, they're not really telling me how to sing scales. Like, from my perspective, all they're doing is making noise. Like, they're like, go, ah. Now, obviously, you can see that I can go a little bit higher, but there's like a little bit of a natural cap for me. Like, it's like, ah. But that's about it. It doesn't really teach me anything about, like, okay, actually looking at like the scales on it. It took me forever to find the advice that it's way better to know how to play an instrument and just trying to match your ability to sing with the keys of the instrument. And in which case, I don't own an instrument, so that doesn't help me at all. Okay. Moving back. Time to read. Chapter 3. Language! Oh, wait, sorry. Chapter 3. Language. You watch your language, young man. Kage wasn't sure what to expect when Damon appeared in front of her cave one early morning a couple days after their last exchange. She quickly rubbed the sleep from her eyes to make sure his sudden appearance wasn't just a figment of her imagination. How often did you imagine him just popping up? Okay, to be fair, he just suddenly popped into her life, so you know what? That's fair. The second she rolled over to face him, he dropped the bags he was holding and moved to cover his eyes. She could see his flushed cheeks peeking out from behind his palms. He opened her mouth to question him, but he cut her off, not noticing her attempt to speak. Sorry, but can you, put your shirt back on, please? Oh. She sat up. That is. Unrolling her shirt that she frequently used as a pillow and shaking any excess dirt off before putting it on. She grunted an affirmation to let him know he was okay to look. Damon slowly peeked through the cracks of his fingers before sighing in relief. Picking up his bags, he strolled over to her and sat down. Thanks. Sorry for asking. I bet you're not used to wearing it. I just feel super awkward looking at a shirtless girl, you know. Why does this really does just feel like the Okaroon ISAC. Oh my god. It really does. I could eat. Oh my god. Yo, let's get an edit of. I know, but you can see the similarities. Star, somebody read your story and took it for Dan to Dan. Imagine. Yeah, I know, right? But no, I'm just saying is like I can see it so easily. Kage tilted her head in confusion. What did her being a girl have to do with anything? She always thought that males and females were practically the same, not including the reproductive organs. So, what was his problem with seeing her without a shirt? Didn't her torso look exactly like his? Now that she looked a little closer, she noticed his torso was a little broader than hers. His muscle mass seemed a lot higher than hers, too. She was almost jealous. If he ever decided to put some work into those muscles, he could probably hold his own in a fight against her. Probably. Not that she ever wanted to fight him. Why do I just imagine, like, Kage is just leaning in, like, just taking a note of, like, his chest and torso area, and then out of pure curiosity, she just keeps poking it. Poke, poke. Poke, poke. Poke, poke. I just could easily see that. And Damon's just sitting there like, what the fuck is going on? She also noticed that his chest was completely flat. Unlike hers, they had two small mounds of fat. Sorry, it's just funny. Okay. Unlike hers, they had two small mounds of fat protruding from her chest that seemed to get in the way of her daily life. Was that what he was so uncomfortable about? It seemed they were more different than she initially thought. Damon noticed the sour expression that crossed her face and immediately panicked, his face flushing a deep crimson. Oh gods, I didn't mean to make you self-conscious. It's not that I don't want... Oh, Damon. Oh, Damon. Oh, fuck you, Star. I hate you so much right now. I forgot about... Oh my god. Okay, let me just hope my housemates don't ever walk in while I'm having to read this. Oh God, I didn't mean to make you self-conscious. It's not that I don't want to look at your boots, but I just don't know you very well, and that's the sort of thing couples do, and oh my God, this is really, really getting weird. She held out her hand to stop his nonsensical tirade. Seriously, why does half the things he say not make any sense to her? His mouth snapped shut, his face burning in embarrassment. Why here? He was taken aback. It seemed that, in his ramblings, he completely forgot that she could speak. It took him a moment to collect himself before sheepishly reaching into his bags and pulling out a stack of books, as well as a couple bottles of water. Well, I was hoping I could help you learn to speak better. Now it was her turn to be taken aback. He was going to teach her how to talk? She certainly didn't see that coming. She didn't see a point, though, as she was never going to leave the forest of her own accord. But what was the point of teaching her how to talk properly if she was never going to talk to anyone but him? Why? He turned away from her, his blush returning to his cheeks. Well, I want to know more about you. The soft clinking of metal rang in her ears, and for a split second, Damon's face became that of a balding old man with wide, curious yet crazed eyes. Oh, okay. I was like, oh, damn. Okay, PTSD going down. Yikes. A chill shut down her spine as his innocent words replayed in her Okay, let me reread that now that I know that it's the PTSD talking. The soft clinking of metal rang in her ears. For a split second, Damon's face became that of a balding old man with wide, curious, yet crazed eyes. A chill shut down her spine as his innocent words replayed in her brain in a more sinister voice she thought she had long forgotten. I want to know more about you. Did my mic cut out in that last word? Let's see. Let me try that. Let me try that again. I thought I heard. Okay. If Damon noticed her hesitance, he certainly didn't say anything about it. She swallowed hard. She wanted to trust him. He never displayed any intentions of harming her the way they did. But it was never that easy. Hold on a second. I gotta go take care of something. Sorry about that. Housemate just got here, so they were trying to see if I was here. Right. I figured it would be obvious because the door is unlocked, and that's the only time we ever have the door unlocked. But apparently not. All right. Let's see. Where was I at? I was at... Okay. But it was never that easy. The last time she allowed herself to trust, she ended up hurting him and his family. Well, really, it was just him, and to be fair, his brother did pull a knife on you and stab you. Like, not entirely your fault, I'm just saying. All right, here we go. But he was putting his trust in her by coming back. By treating her like she hadn't tried to split his head open all those years ago. By treating her like a person rather than a monster. least she could do was repay him with a little trust of her own. She shot a skeptical look before hesitantly asking, "No, sorry, no lie?" He broke out into a sheepishly cheesy grin, rubbing the back of his head awkwardly while answering, "I'm a terrible liar." Smiling gently back at him, Kage decided to take a leap of faith. Okay. The next 2 months were some of the most grueling months of her life. Who knew that learning how to speak also meant learning more words from the language she spoke? She only knew very few words, some that her mother taught her and some she picked up at that hospital place. So a lot of their lesson time was spent with Damon trying to explain what the words he was using meant. It took a lot of time, effort, children's educational material, and water bottles, but he finally got her using somewhat coherent sentences. It was a step in the right direction, and he was proud of her. The quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog. Good. You think you can try it without tripping over your words? The quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog. Why am I jumping? Also, quick? I think you're too much expectations, I'm telling you. I'm the lazy one in this situation. Okay, moving on. Kage heaved a sigh as they finished up for the day. Language lessons were certainly tough on her. There were so many words she didn't know existed, and some of them seemed impossible to say. How the heck does one even pronounce... Okay, okay, let me see. I'm trying to be like, okay. Do I want to say this as somebody who knows how this is pronounced, or how somebody who has never really seen the word would think it was pronounced? Fuck it, we'll go full Kage. How the heck does one even pronounce Bologna? Some letters were tough on her, so outside of lessons, she always opted to shorten words as much as she could. As long as the message got across, she was satisfied. Bologna. She finished off her water bottle. Damon was slowly putting the books back in his bags, seemingly distracted. Dropping her empty water bottle into one of the bags, she leaned over and poked Damon on the cheek. Poke! He blinked a few times before glancing over at her. Something on your mind, Damon? Oh, it's nothing. Don't worry about it. Kage's eyes narrowed at him and he flinched slightly. He knew she wouldn't be satisfied with his answer. Sighing, he reached into his bag and pulled out a thin object. It's just... I found this at the old house before I ran into you that night, he said, handing her a picture frame. I guess it's been bothering me, but I didn't know how to bring it up. As soon as she laid eyes on the picture, she had to resist the urge to burn it on the spot. Reminder. Painful reminder of what her life could have been. So what about it's bothering you? She managed to ask through clenched teeth. Even Damon could tell it was rough on her. I guess if it's not much trouble, I'd like to know who these people are and what happened to them. She should have seen it coming the moment the picture frame was placed in her hands. He did say he wanted to know more about her, hence the reason for him sticking around and giving her lessons on speech and language. Still, she wasn't sure if this was a conversation she was ready to have. It is too much trouble, she muttered. Damon took that as his cue to drop the topic. She placed the picture frame on the ground, taking a deep breath before saying, "But if you must know, they're my parents." Damon looked down at the smiling family in the picture. Assumptions were correct after all. But the man in the photo was the one in the news all those years ago, which meant... Yes. They're both dead. I don't know if I said that the way that I really wanted to. It's more like, yes, they're both dead. Her sharp voice cut through his thoughts. Kage pulled her knees up to her chest, wrapping her arms around her legs and resting her head on her kneecaps. Anxiety formed in the pit of Damon's stomach. He swallowed, almost afraid to respond. But that means you killed your father? She shrugged, seemingly unbothered. I did. A chill shot down his spine. He could never imagine killing his own father, no matter the circumstances. It just didn't sit right with him. He pushed his growing fear to the back of his mind as he asked his next question. But why? Kage's expression became unreadable as she pondered his question. Why? It was a very simple answer. One Damon might not take too lightly. How might he react? Would he get angry? Run from her in terror? Send her back to that place? She clenched her teeth. She clenched her teeth. She didn't even want to respond. Kage, why did you kill him? She growled at the mention of her name. It seemed Damon wouldn't let her out of this question without an answer. Inhaling deeply through the nose and exhaling through the mouth, she attempted to calm her nervous body before fully opening her mouth to respond the best way she could. I don't know why I paused there. I guess just like it was like in her mind is like just really pausing to think, how could she begin to describe this? My father, that man, left us. Damon's face went blank as he processed her words. Then his expression changed from shocked, then to confused, then to anger. He jumped to his feet. What? You killed him because your parents got a divorce? That's the most... Damon, ridiculous thing I've ever heard. Are you kidding me? Damon, listen. No, I don't want to hear what you had to say after that petty excuse for taking a life. A loud slap. That sucked. Echoed throughout the forest. Damon brought a hand up to rub his now stinging cheek. He glanced over at Kage. No. Her whole body was trembling. Oh, damn, you got me laughing. Her whole body was trembling, her lip quivering, her eyes glossy. She grabbed him by the collar of his jacket, bringing him down to her eye level. You don't know a thing, so shut up for a second! How was that? Did that work? Oh, that was shit. Damon was shocked, to say the least. He hadn't seen her like this since that day 10 years ago. She looked as though she was doing her best to stay composed, but even her body was betraying her will. She let out a shaky breath. When Mom was killed, he left her without a second thought. Then he left me at that place. She swallowed hard, trying to suppress some unwanted memories before. When I got out, he was with another woman. He looked so much happier than he ever did with me and Mom. I just got so mad. I killed him, Damon. He hurt me, so I killed him. Are you happy with that? Before he could even usher out a response, her eyes narrowed, and a low growl rumbled from the back of her throat. No. Forget it. Just get out of here. Her body was visibly trembling. Her fingers were stiff and twitchy. Her breathing was deep and ragged. He looked close enough. Could have sworn he saw steam coming off her. He was afraid she was going to transform into the monster he hadn't seen in almost 10 years, right then and there. But get the fuck out of here! Man, I cannot do anger. He didn't want to stay to find out. Damon scrambled away from her as fast as he could, not even bothering to grab his bags. Her voice reverberated through his skull, pushing his body to go faster. He hadn't seen her that angry since the day she'd almost sliced his head open. Bro, she did slice your head open. There was no almost about it. It just didn't get sliced all the way. Once Damon was out of sight, Kage slumped to her knees. It wasn't his fault. She would always push him away out of pure instinct. She was destined to be alone. So why did that frightened look in his eyes hurt her more than those doctors ever did? You're pathetic. Leave me alone. Are you waiting for someone to rescue you? No one will. You know what you have to do. What? Kill them. It was hard to see. It was hard to even walk. Got so many strange looks. So many people trying to stop to ask me if I was alright. I was most definitely not alright. Nor did I have the words to convey that to them. Oh my god, are you okay? Covered in blood. Leave me alone. Stay here. I'm gonna call the police, okay? We're gonna get you some help. Leave me alone! He called out to me as I wriggled out of his light grip and ran. But I didn't look back. I couldn't. I was finally freed from that horrible place, and he wanted to send me straight back? I couldn't even bear the thought. So instead, I returned home, to the man I once called my father. How long has it been? Does he miss me? Does he miss Mom? I could only wonder as I knocked on the door. What the fuck are you doing here? Father? I got rid of you. They said they'd lock you up. So how the fuck did you get out? You need to get out of here before my wife sees you. But it was too late. She did see me. Of course, she had many questions about why a bloody child showed up at their doorstep. He had no excuses. He told her it was nothing to worry about and then tried to hush me out the door. The moment he laid his hands on me, memories of this man came floating back into my mind. Scars and bruising from years gone by began to ache at his touch. I wanted to just run away again. Leave my past behind. My mother, him, that horrible place. But before I could, her voice rang through my head, loud and clear. Kill them. And so that's what I did. With that, I ran off to my true home. With every last piece of my past eradicated. But it was never really that easy. Somehow, someone had seen my horrific actions done to that man, his wife, and his home. Oop. Turn off. Where was I at? Now I have vehicles with loud sirens and flashing lights chasing me as I sprint down the highway. They were gaining ground on me fairly quickly, so I stopped for a moment, braced myself for the ripping and tearing of bones and flesh as I summoned my wings. It was a sensation I would never truly get used to, but I figured I could outpace them if I flew instead of ran. Things never truly go according to plan because as soon as I got in the air, gunshots were also fired. I did my best to avoid them, but one ended up going straight through my right wing, causing me to lose altitude almost immediately. I crashed into the road, the pavement scratching every bit of bare skin on my body. Fortunately for me, I landed right in front of the path to my home. Unfortunately for me, I didn't notice the vehicle barreling down the highway as I leapt for the path. Turns out, the author wasn't done fucking me up for 5 minutes. The vehicle rammed right into my rib cage, and I flipped over the top of the vehicle, landing right on the pavement again. I couldn't breathe. I was coughing and wheezing and hacking up blood. I truly thought I was going to die at that moment. The sirens were catching up, and I decided that I couldn't die just yet. Raising myself on unsteady legs, I took off down the path on all fours. It was a relatively long path, but it felt like forever trying to reach the house. Then something unexpected happened. I ran into 2 boys, literally. The one with the stoic sea green eyes behind thick frames, and the one with the kind onyx eye, who looked at me with fear and concern. He opened his mouth, but I could barely make out what he was saying. The ringing in my ears was too loud. But then he looked at me dead in the eyes, and his voice echoed directly through my mind. Kage? Huh? Kage! What? Wake up! She awoke with a start. The first thing she saw was that same fear-stricken and concerned face of his, illuminated by the pale moonlight. He helped her up and wrapped her in a soft embrace. She wasn't quite sure why, until she felt the tears still rolling down her cheeks. Her heart was also racing, and her breathing seemed uneven. I don't know what kind of dream you're having. But it's okay. You're safe now. It was a common dream, but it still rattled her sometimes. This must have been one of those times. She wondered for a moment why he had even come back, until she noticed his bags from earlier still sitting at the entrance to her cave. He must have come back for them. That makes sense. He held her for quite some time. It felt like hours, but She knew it had been only minutes. Neither of them dared to break the silence. Eventually, he released her from the embrace, giving her room to breathe and calm down. She began to wipe the tears and snot from her face when Damon finally broke the silence. You okay? She stared him in the eyes. His face was etched with nothing but concern for her. He was truly an enigma, coming back even after she pushed him away, after she threatened to attack him. Yet he still cared when she was having a disturbing dream. Kage let a relaxed smile rest on her face. Maybe, just maybe, I'll be okay. Notes! Yes, hello, I'm still alive, and so is this story. I wrote the first half of this chapter probably 8 months ago, and then hit a block and wasn't able to finish it till recently. A lot's happened since my last chapter. Mainly, I started streaming on Twitch.tv. My viewers started reading this, which gives me more of an incentive to update. Really? Really? Where, I didn't see much of this in past Star had no idea that her procrastination would get worse and that her chat would actively be bothering her for updates. So if you want to give me any criticism or feedback, you can do so on here or catch me live at http. I'm just going to say twitch.tv/Starly120. Not a shameless plug, I promise. You guys could also just check out the audiobook version at twitch.tv/FGRolls. I'm kidding. That was a shameless plug, I promise. But no, seriously, go check out Star and just check out her story. I wished I remembered to put a link in the chat. Alright. Chapter 4 has already been started, so hopefully that'll be done in a shorter time than this chapter was. But one can only hope. That's all for me. See y'all next time. Doo-doo-doo. And that was chapter 3 of A Tale of One Shadow. How long have we been streaming? About 3 hours. So we're finishing it pretty much at a rate of about 1 chapter per hour. So that means it would take us 9 hours of streaming to finish all 9 chapters. We know that's not happening. Oh my god. I had to take a drink of water right there. Okay. So, opinions on Fox's performance in that last chapter. The hard part, in my opinion, is always displaying the anger. Like, I'm super blank. When it comes to like emotions. I guess I'm not really blank, because it's like chat has seen me get like really excited for things, has seen me get like really mad at things, but it's more like in a story perspective as I try to bounce around. Almost gaslit you into thinking this was a good story. Star, it's your story. You should think it's good. Like, you know the whole phrase that writers should never be happy with their story? It's a lie. You should be happy with your story. Should you believe your story is the best? No. Should you believe that it's perfect? No. But you should be happy with telling your story. Dude, okay. I don't mean to derail the conversation here, but because we're talking about writing, I need to stay off of the writing Reddit because somebody was this really kind of an a-hole a little bit about writing, and they were like, oh, you've got a world built? Oh, you've got an idea? You've got all this stuff done, but you don't, I don't know. It was this weird idea that it's just you shouldn't be a writer if you don't have a story. And that, of course, makes sense, but it's people start somewhere. I will not lie to you. I love crafting worlds more than anything else. I love making, an entire world, and I'm making the rules of magic. I'm deciding what type of technology they're going to have. I'm deciding whether or not what two places are at war with each other. And then usually that's when I'm okay, I need a character who can really show off this world. Yeah, that to me, that's what I tend to do. That tends to be my process. Not a good thing. I really do think that there are, if you were to look at my older stuff, I definitely had a character in mind. And then I would get lost in the world building. That is my biggest weakness as a writer. I get lost in the building of my world more than anything else. Okay. Chapter 4. Lemons. Star. I thought you said there were no lemons in this story. You lied to me. Oh, I fucking hate this chapter. I haven't even read it, and I already know that I hate it. Because I know exactly what we're talking about when we get to lemons. I know who's here. No lemons were had during the making of fuck. Let's just get this started. Damon, I don't think this is a good idea. Damon strutted down the busy streets of Ikara, the place he called home. Kage cautiously straggling behind him. Straggle. She was already nervous enough due to the events that had taken place years prior, but all the people made it so much worse. She hadn't been around so many people at once in years. It filled her with a new kind of uneasiness that rocked her to her very core. All right, Kage's an introvert. We love introvert Kage. Kage waved the introvert flag. Do it! Kind of like the author, yeah. That reminds me, I need to commission the Kagage emote. I will absolutely commission that thing's existence and then just put it on 7TV. I would do it too. For anyone curious, it would basically be Kage holding well, honestly, it would either just be Kage surrounded with a rainbow background, or I was thinking Kage with rainbow fire. Aw, Damon's hanging out with Revel, his totally legit son. Hey, maybe now Revel won't go off and be a piece of shit. 20 years later, Revel. So, Dad, I have a kid. Yeah, we know. Wait, oh, you've already met Arthur? Arthur? Who the fuck is Arthur? You never told us about Arthur. Well, I just wanted you to meet him right now. Wait, you didn't know about Arthur? Who are you talking about? What? We were talking about Lucian. The one that your friend Elias has been raising? Like, honestly speaking, very good man. I just can't understand why you didn't want to raise Lucian yourself, but I can understand that maybe you had issues. I have a son named Lucian? Oh my god, you are just like your grandfather. Oh, it runs in the family. Oh, we're unhinged. You know that, right? We're just fucking unhinged. Okay, moving on. Time to go back to reading about lemons. Do people even use that phrase anymore? I feel like it's like, unless you're stumbling on like something made in like 2017, you probably won't see that phrase that much. Like, otherwise, I think now people just literally are like, you know what? We're not even gonna hide it. This is smut. I feel like if something had the lemons written in the summary, that was definitely FFN, and that was just so that writers could hide that, oh hey, yeah, I was just writing smut. And then AO3 just does not care about you just writing porn. So I guess, yeah, the phrase died out. Hey, Angora Rabbit, how's it going? You chose a very interesting time to pop in with me saying that. How's it going? True. Alright, let's see. Nonsense. It's been almost a decade. I doubt anyone will recognize you. She huffed, catching up with him and latching onto his arm. Not the only thing I'm worried about. Damon insisted on bringing her to Ikara to buy her some new clothing. For what use she had for clothing, she wasn't sure, and he sure as hell wasn't telling her. No matter how much she protested, Damon wouldn't seem to back down on this. He led her straight to a bustling marketplace. Shops and vendors with every type of product available filled the street. But Takage, it was just a huge mass of people. She didn't even need to step foot on the street for the noise to burn her sensitive ears. There's already a lot to handle. The noise, the smells, the bright LED billboards. This was just too much for her. Just as Damon was about to take a step toward the sea of people, Kage tugged on his arm, shaking her head violently. He gave her a reassuring smile before practically dragging her along, and boy, was it ever loud. Thousands of voices filled her head all at the same time, squeezed in between masses of bodies as they attempted to navigate the busy street. She could barely hear Damon when he spoke to her. His voice was just another mingled in with the millions that pierced her head and caused it to ache. She lost her grip on his hand when someone rammed into her. She almost lost her footing. Probably would have yelled at them if it weren't for the fact that she could now use her free hands to cover her ears to at least try and block out the noise. No matter how hard she pushed her palms into her ears, the loud, ceaseless chattering would still make it through. Groaning loudly, or at least what she thought might have been loud, but she wasn't sure at that point, she crouched down in an attempt to make herself as small as possible. Nobody even noticed her as they went about their own busy days. She felt the urge to scream. Then, through a pair of passing legs, she noticed something. There was a man with his own little stand set up in the midst of the marketplace. His stand consisted of creatures she'd never seen before, locked up in cages of all sorts. Small, furry quadrupeds. Hey, good night, Edevi. Some that looked sort of like the wild wolves she'd seen before, but at the same time, much different. Some that were smaller, with pointed ears and judgmental eyes. Some that looked like birds, but bigger, with more vibrant colors. But what caught her attention was something that reminded her of herself. She crawled out of the crowd and made her way towards the stand. She didn't even acknowledge the man's greeting as she approached the big glass box sitting on the main table. Inside, underneath a cave-looking object, a small, scaly creature. It had a long body that was curled up. She didn't see any legs. Its small head was sticking out of the entrance to the small cave, staring back at her. Its small forked tongue flicked out then into its mouth as it slowly inched out of the small cave towards her. It stopped inches from the glass and continued to stare at her while flicking its tongue. She reached out and placed her fingers on the glass. Alright, I gotta pick a voice. A voice for this thing. Alright, for this man. Wow, never seen that thing so friendly before. And then it quickly retreated back into the cave. Kage blinked, then looked up at the man who was staring at her in astonishment. Usually that little guy just hides or hisses at anyone who comes near it. Never been able to sell the thing. Kage looked down into the glass where the small creature was curled up inside the small cave. Its tongue flicking ceased. What is it? That there's a young boa constrictor imperator. Or a common red-tailed boa, if you will. Just a wild type, no fancy morphs or anything. Those were some big words. What? The man blinked, clearly taken aback. You, never seen a snake before? Kage shook her head. The man rested his hand on his chin. Hand on his chin. Okay, yeah, sorry, I was like, huh? The man rested his hand on his chin and thought for a moment. Oh, well, I assumed you at least knew something about him, seeing as that little guy just came right up to you and all. I personally know next to nothing about the darn things. The man took a step back from the cage, and almost immediately the snake came slithering out of the cave towards her, tongue flicking, resuming. Kage rested her hand on the glass, and the snake slithered right up to her hand and rested its nose on the other side of the glass. Kage couldn't help but smile. Does it breathe fire, too? The man's eyes widened, and he shuddered at the thought. I hope not. Kage looked up at the man, the first time looking him in the eyes since their interaction started. I'll take it. Before the man could even respond, a voice called out to her. The snake retreated back into its cave as Damon ran through the massive crowd towards them. Kage! There you are. I was so worried after losing you in the crowd, and after I couldn't find you, I thought the worst had happened, and... Damon, shut up and look at this. Damon's mouth snapped shut as he walked over to the cage her hand was still resting on. He moved her hand so he could get a look at what was inside the cage. He froze when he saw the snake's blank eyes staring back at him. He gulped. That a snake? Kage nodded. This guy called it a boa constrictor. Yeah, that. Damon couldn't help but shudder. Damon, I want it. What? Damon pulled her aside for a moment, mostly for his benefit, so he didn't have to keep staring at it. Kage, you know those grow to be, like, huge, right? What if it eats you? Kage blinked, pretty confused by his outburst, then he gasped quite dramatically, What if it's poisonous? The man, overhearing Damon's outburst, quickly chimed in, "Actually, some snakes are venomous, not poisonous. And boa constrictors are definitely not venomous. If they were, I wouldn't be selling one." They both turned back to the man, who was quietly wiping down his stand with a cloth. "I may not know much about them, but even I know the difference between poisonous and venomous." The man grinned, and Kage turned back to Damon and grinned as well. Damon looked back at Kage, then at the man, then back at Kage. He opened his mouth to refute, but in the end, heaved a sigh as he gave up on the argument altogether. "Fine, just how much for it?" The man laughed, clapping Damon's shoulder. "For you, my man, free of charge. Plus, it seems that it really took a liking to your girlfriend over there." The man walked over to the cage where Kage was waiting and excitedly rocking back and forth on her heels, leaving a red-faced, flustered Damon behind. "Wait, she's not my..." But his protests fell on deaf ears. The man popped off the mesh topping of the glass cage, reached in to grab the small cave it was hiding under. Once its protection had been ripped away, the boa immediately hissed at the man, who recoiled away from the cage. Kage reached her hands into the cage, and the boa immediately began climbing up her arms. Scales were cold in comparison to her warm body temperature. It climbed up her arm and onto her shoulders until it nestled itself comfortably around her neck. Kage had the giddiest smile Damon had ever seen on her face, and that made it all worth it to him. They thanked the man, and Damon began to walk off, but Kage turned to him once more. "What's your name?" The man gave her a bright smile. "Name's Doug, little missy." Kage nodded slowly, repeating in her mind as to not mess it up when saying it out loud. She gave the boa a little scratch under the chin before proudly proclaiming, "Then its name'll be Doug." Kage nodded. Oh, wait, sorry, I already read that. The man laughed so loud that they could still hear it, even after they'd left the marketplace. Once they'd got off to the bustling street and Kage was able to rid her ears of the many voices that permeated the air, she let out a yawn. Damon glanced back at her. "Damon, I'm gonna go home." The look in his eyes told her that he wanted to say something, but instead, he just smiled. "Right? I'll see you tomorrow, okay?" She nodded, a little too enthusiastically, as she skipped down the sidewalk back to the forest. Doug still resting around her neck, Damon was a little worried about the snake that seemed a little too comfortable around her neck, but maybe that was his own fear of snakes clouding his judgment. Clearly, if it was a dangerous animal, no one would be selling it, right? That's a tough one, because if people could get away with it, they absolutely would sell dangerous animals. That's why there's black markets for animals like tigers or lions or bears. Oh my! Lions, tigers, or bears. Sorry. Now, obviously, what we're really saying is that nobody would be able to sell these legally. And then there's me, like, really thinking about it. It's like, I don't know about the market of snakes. I doubt that people are selling venomous snakes. But I guess the real message we're getting here is that it's like nobody would sell like a snake with a bad attitude. Like let's say that out of 100 snakes, there's like one snake that's just really aggressive for no real reason. Like it's kind of the same with animals. That does happen. Sometimes you have one that's just like really aggressive. It doesn't really like the pet life. Even in cases of domestic breeding, you will sometimes have animals that just don't do well domestically. And it irritates them. It can make them a little bit aggressive. So I assume that's what this is referring. Like, you wouldn't sell an animal that you knew was aggressive. He watched her disappear from his line of vision before turning and going home, his thoughts filled with snakes. His fears were unwarranted, as when he came to her cave the next morning to find her sleeping peacefully next to Doug, he was finally able to relax. Until Doug looked at him, and then he freaked out and hid behind the rocks again. Wuss! Doug then stares at Kage. You could do better. Wuss. Doug then lays his head back down to take a nap. They're cuddling Monty. Wuss. Attempt number 2 of getting Kage new clothing was going a lot better than attempt number 1. Now she had Doug, who she claimed was keeping her way calmer than her first visit. Damon was grateful she was able to find something to keep her calm, but at the same time ungrateful because it was a snake of all things. Most people moved out of their way once they saw Doug resting happily on her shoulders, and Kage seemed ecstatic that people were giving her the space she so desperately needed. Damon, however, was the one receiving the onslaught of dirty looks by shoppers. He pulled Kage lightly by the hand, desperately trying to make it to their destination as quickly as possible. Once they'd made it there, a small clothing stand set up near the center of the street, Kage finally decided to confront him about their ventures into the city. So, why are you bringing me here anyway? Damon clearly hesitated. She could tell, but when he looked at her, the look in her eyes told him she wasn't taking no for an answer. He sighed. I want to get you out of that forest. Kage blinked, clearly taken aback. She was not expecting that answer. He ran his hand through his hair, accidentally exposing the scars to her before continuing. You had such a crappy... Oh, sorry, that says cruddy, not crappy. My bad. You had such a cruddy childhood. Damn it. I just can't get this. All right. You had such a cruddy childhood. You missed out on so much. Just want to give you what the world didn't. That's all. She clenched her teeth. But I don't care what you are. No one deserves to go through what you did, Kage. Her jaw began to ache from the amount of pressure she was putting on it with her clenching. She didn't deserve it. She killed people. She was a monster. Yet, his words filled her with relief. She had to resist the urge to start sobbing right then and there. She swallowed hard. You care about me that much? Yes, he said without hesitation. She stared him dead in the eyes, looking for any signs of deception. Like always, he had none. He didn't flinch away. There was no malice in his eyes. It was truly an enigma to her. Very interesting. She didn't know why he was so interested in her and why she was so interested in him in return. She wasn't even sure how to voice these feelings to him. So, she said the first thing that came to mind. I like you. Damon exploded. To say that Damon's face turned red was an understatement. Like, it went really, really red. Like, you could see the red just lifting up. It covered his fingers, his hands. You could go see it through the neck, all the way to the top. Oh my God, is that steam coming out of his head? Oh my God. Quick, 911. Hello, hello? Man down, man down. Yes, this is 911. What is your emergency? We got a man down over here in the shopping center. Can you tell us exactly what happened? Okay, some weird blue-haired girl told him that she liked him. Oh, son of a bitch. Quick, we got an O214. O214. Send our fastest ambulance. Stat. Tell me somebody got it. I hope somebody got that. Okay. He brought his hands up to cover his red face and turned away from her, muttering something she couldn't comprehend. Fortunately, it didn't, but you sound... O214. February 14th. Valentine's Day? So it's a code O214. I will admit, sadly, it took me a second to think of that one. I was like, come on, I need something funny. And then I was like, oh, shit, I got it. Okay. Let's see. Where was I at? Oh, right. Didn't understand why he'd become so flustered all of a sudden. Just another thing she didn't understand about him, really. After a second, he must... Can we pause? Can we just, like, stop here for, like, ever? This way we're never introduced to the one character I just can't stand. I know, I see it. I see the words. 911. I'm calling again for another emergency. This time, send a SWAT team. I need everything. Machine guns, tanks. Drop a fucking nuke on this shopping center if you have to. The sad part is, I'm not sure any of that would succeed in killing. It would only succeed in killing everyone else but her. After a second, he mustered up the courage to look back at her. His cheeks were still dusted with a light shade of red, but that didn't reduce the newfound courage in his eyes. She could feel her breath hitch in her throat as he inched forward only slightly. Kage. Damon! And then suddenly a sour scent filled her nostrils. A woman who came out of literal nowhere. No, I can tell you where she came out of. She came out of Star's brain for some fucking reason. Practically pranced on poor Damon and latched onto his arm, pressing it into her obnoxiously large breasts. She reeked of lemons. The scent a Kage gag. I am right there with you, girl. Kage, I am right there with you. Oh, Veronica. Damon, where have you been? Ugh. You haven't shown up to work in weeks. I've missed you, you know. Oh, I'm on holiday, remember? Damon laughed awkwardly as he glanced back at Kage, who had a sour expression on her face. If he noticed, he certainly didn't say anything about it. Kage, this is not the time to be pulling the ISA treatment. Go forth, slap her! We need you to pull a Mau Mau. That's what we need. We don't need ISA, we need fucking Mau Mau in this situation. Beat the shit out of her. We need the Mau Mau slap. That's what we need. Please. Drop a water basin on her head. Yes. Oh, you know what? Actually, make it an anvil. Make it an anvil. 400 pounds, please. Although, knowing my luck, it still wouldn't work. Alright. I ran into an old friend. I'm showing her around the city as a way to catch up. The woman, Veronica, took one look at Kage and immediately screeched. She was louder than all the voices on the marketplace street combined. Kage had to cover her ears out of fear that her eardrums would burst. Oh, boy. I'm right there with you, Kage. I can't even hear her. Veronica's screech is so powerful, it broke down the fourth wall for me to hear it. Fuck you, Star. Even Doug flinched at the horrendous sound. Veronica ducked behind Damon, who was also covering his ears, and pointed at Kage with a shaky finger. Oh my god! There's a snake around her neck! Quick, Damon, you gotta kill it! Kage's eyes narrowed dangerously, and she growled menacingly as she raised a hand to cover Doug protectively. Damon held out a hand between the two girls, not wanting to escalate the situation further. Whoa, Kage, it's okay. I'm not gonna hurt Doug. But if you want to go ahead and hurt Veronica, go for it. I'm all for it. Her growling ceased, and she seemed to relax a little. He then turned to Veronica. It's okay. That's just her pet snake. He's not gonna hurt you. Veronica walked out from behind Damon and strutted right up to Kage, looking her up and down. Honestly, she snorted, I don't see why anyone would want a disgusting, slimy creature like that for a pet. Kage clenched her fist. She had the urge to punch her. Damon saw it too, but he didn't have any time to intervene. Where are you from anyway? Veronica continued. You look like a bloody street rat. You live in a dumpster your whole life? 'Cause you certainly smell like it. That's when Kage took a long look at herself. She'd been wearing the same old black t-shirt and shorts for the past 10 years, both stained with dirt, grass, and animal blood, though the animal blood was more or less unnoticeable. Her hair was knotted and matted and barely looked blue from all the dirt and grime. She was unbearably pale and thin from only being able to eat what she could hunt. She didn't even look like she could lift Doug, much less carry him on her shoulders. She felt the strong urge to run away. Again, something she couldn't help but do whenever things went wrong for her. Damn. Veronica went for Kage's pride. This shall not stand! Damon, do something! Veronica, that's enough! Sorry, I just imagine like Damon in this one situation. He's just like, oh fuck no, you can no, you ain't saying shit about Kage. So he just goes full masculinity on that one. This is the moment where the ball's dropped. Not like Okaruns though. Somebody else had to drop his. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Moving on. Okay, where was I at? Damon's voice pierced through her thoughts as he grabbed her hand and led her away. She could hear the woman begin to protest, but Damon waved her away. He led her away until the sour aroma left her nostrils. Damon eventually stopped, back over his shoulders to make sure they weren't followed before turning to Kage. Hey, I'm so sorry about that. Guilt was written all over his face. Wouldn't even look her in the eyes. The expression didn't look right on him. She gently squeezed his hand, getting him to look at her, before giving him a small smile. She smelled sour. Yeah, she really did. His tense body began to relax, which made her relax instinctively. They continued their shopping trip, talking about how horrible lemons smelled. Kage decided she would never run away again. Okay, let's see. Kage slept on the cold forest floor for 10 years. Comfort wasn't something she ever really thought that much about. It was always about sleeping through the night and surviving the day for her. So when Damon told her to sleep on something soft like a couch, with something warm like a blanket, she found the comfort very foreign and unusual. Everything about that day she found foreign and unusual. Damon brought her new sets of clothes. One extremely soft set she was wearing that he called pajamas. Do you guys say, okay, I'm kind of curious, like, do you guys say pajamas or pajamas? Pajamas, jamas. Jammies, jammies. I think no matter what, everybody says jammies, but it's like pajamas, 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 pajamas. I think I tend to use it interchangeably where it's like, first one, which one was first? I can't remember. Was it jaw or jam? Jaw? Okay. I feel like this is another one of those words where I'll say it like kind of interchangeably based on the character I'm reading. Where it's like, if a character is kind of goofy, like, okay, let me give examples here. Okay. A character like Gigi from Dan to Dan would absolutely say pajamas. Who am I kidding? That man would be saying, hand over the jammies. But a character like, say, Gaoxuan from Apothecary Diaries would be like, ah, yes, I've brought you some pajamas. Because he's super formal. So I kind of view pajamas as like a formal way of saying the word. And when it's a kind of an informal character, I say pajamas. So I do tend to use the words very interchangeably. Right. Where was I? Pajamas. Okay. He brought her into his home, a 2-bedroom apartment that smelled exactly like him. He let her soak in a tub of warm water and suds that cleaned most of the forest grime off of her. Never. They're my jammies. Lastly, he provided her with a meal, meats and vegetables she'd never had before. She felt very refreshed. The only thing about her day that wasn't foreign and unusual was the thunderstorm raging outside. Kage was always fond of rain, one of the few things that calmed her. Thunderstorms were one of the few things that made her terrified. The flash of light that struck down from the heavens, followed by a bellowing roar that shook her to her very core. Hey, Kage, don't be afraid of the lightning. That's just Lucien letting off some steam. It's okay. Your future grandchild is he's just a little pissed off. He got into a fight with his dad. For anyone who doesn't get the joke, Lucien is a dragon character from a story I was making, and he's more of a lightning breathing dragon than a fire breathing one. Although I guess he doesn't start out as lightning. I think I do have him breathing fire when he first transforms. But then it kind of, no, I think it's always lightning. Revel definitely is fire. I never made an element for Arthur. Ooh, maybe he could be a wind dragon. Breathes tornadoes. Fun thoughts. Moving on. Nobody cares about a story that's never going to be written. Oh, if Revel got Kage's fire, then how the fuck did Lucien end up with lightning? It's just the element that he is most naturally, like, attuned to. And really, I guess what it comes down to is how I tend to describe magic in the story. Because I tend to fall into the standard phrase of like what it is like, how do I put it? Oh yeah, like it's really hard to describe how the dragons in my story work because first of all, I think I've explained the immortality of dragons before. So the dragons of my story, they don't die. Not really. They're immortal, but not really. But they're not really immortal in the traditional sense, because it's true that they can't die unless killed. But even if you kill them, they just transfer their soul or their mana to the whatever killed them. And then they just become the next dragon in the line. Like, that's pretty much the lineage of dragons. So it's like Revel killed what did I name it? I just remembered it was like, okay. I think it was Kurgal, who was the black dragon of poison. A dragon that literally, like, poisoned the land that it rested on. Killed that, so that's how Revel became a dragon. Revel himself didn't actually have any magic, but but if he had magic, he would attune most heavily to fire. Like, everyone kind of has an element that they are most attuned to, although they can master just about any magical concept. And dragon forms are heavily influenced by that. So, for example, there is another dragon within the story that is made of trees. But when that dragon dies and is reincarnated as someone else, although it is still made of trees, it now has, like, its back, which was originally covered with vibrant trees of cherry blossoms or something like that, are now like actual leaves made of fire. Like, it's like the trees are always on fire. Because the person he reincarnated into has a fire affinity, is the best way I have to explain it. So Lucian has more of a lightning one, and that really is less of an affinity or an attunement, and more like it's just the element that he really found himself with more often. Then, of course, we have, like, other concepts that become a thing. It's just convoluted. And then I always worry that someone's going to ask, hold on, are these dragons, like, are they very powerful? And I say, yeah, they're literally so powerful that there's not many things other than another dragon that could kill or beat them. Then how did Revel or any of the others kill the dragons? Well, that's the fun part. That's the overall fun part of it. The dragons don't care, because they know they're just going to live again. They have no desire for procreation, because there's no reason to. They're immortal. So even if they die, they're just going to come back. And as a result, they really don't fear anything. Not even really death. Unless they're fighting another dragon. Like, literally, unless they are fighting another dragon, most of the dragons within my story would not fear dying. Because they just know that they're going to come back and continue on in the next member of their lineage. Revel is the only known dragon to actually procreate with a human, because he was still human at the time when he originally had Lucian. Though he does later also have another child later on. Me still having to read this story. Okay. The flash of light that struck... Oh, right. The walls of the apartment muffled the sounds ever so slightly. But not enough for her enhanced hearing. She slowly got off the couch, keeping the blanket draped over her shoulders for protection. She knew it wouldn't provide. She made sure Doug was still curled up underneath the couch side table before making her way towards Damon's room. The few claps of thunder on the way there almost made her jump out of her skin. She knocked quietly on the door and waited a few seconds. When no noise came from the other side of the door, she slowly reached for the knob, praying it wasn't locked. She let out a sigh of relief when the knobs turned with no resistance. She quietly crept into the room towards the bed of a sleeping Damon, and without really thinking, plopped down next to him. She wrapped herself in the blanket she brought with her and turned her back to his. There was one more large clap of thunder outside before the storm started to calm down. She took a few deep breaths to calm her racing heart before drifting off. She could have sworn she heard his heart racing too. Notes. Shout out if you know the real reason the boa constrictor is named Doug. I don't. I don't think I've ever asked Star to tell me why it was named Doug. I think she did tell me, though, but it's just been a while that I haven't really thought of it. So I just kind of forgot. I'm gonna see, how long have I been streaming? About 4 hours and 2 minutes, which really, because there's like, I have like a 10-minute startup time, really only for 3 hours and 50 minutes. Let me think. Okay. I think I'm gonna go ahead and hang it off here for tonight, because I've got other work that I gotta finish before I go down to sleep tonight, before I also have work in the morning. So, yeah, I'm gonna hang us off here. And honestly, we're gonna probably pick this back up tomorrow, if tomorrow is another half day of work. And we're gonna be finishing tomorrow, no matter what. So even if it goes on for a little bit longer than 4 hours, yeah, that's the goal. We're gonna finish A Tale of One Shadow tomorrow and see where this is going. I'm really excited about reading chapter 9 because it's the only one I haven't read, but I'm also just enjoying going back through the journey. I don't know if I'm gonna post this immediately, but if you guys enjoyed the read through and would like to provide your commentary on just about anything I've done for this stream today, I would be very happy to hear it. And hopefully you guys enjoyed everything. Let's see. I'm gonna see who else I can raid right now and toss you their way. I'm gonna be real, I'm not comfortable with raiding people when I go from just chatting, because it's like, it's a whole other business. It's a whole other side to it. So yeah, I don't see anyone that I would be willing to raid right now. So we're just gonna leave it right here for today. Again, really have been enjoying doing the voice acting stuff again. I have so much fun doing it, especially with visual novels and reading Star's story. If any of you guys ever have suggestions, this is mostly for chat, although, hey, maybe I'll take a look at some of the YouTube comments. If any of you have a story that on AO3, because I try to look at the tag system, that you think would be interesting for me to read out, as long as it is safe for work, I'd be down for it. I would be down for doing so. With all that said, it is now time for me to log off, so thank you everybody for making it to the end of this stream. Yeah, as you can see, intros and outros are not my strong suit. I really need to start being better about that. Next stream, again, if tomorrow is a half day at work, it'll be tomorrow. I also plan on doing my best to catch up to the current standing of HSR later this week. So look out for that, and I will catch all of you guys in the next one. Bye, everybody. Have a good rest of your day.